You can drink
Did
that?
you get double on?
No.
Yeah, I used to.
See, I
All
know.
right, it's close enough. It's 7 o'clock. Let's call this meeting to order and stand for the pledge, if you please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I used to drink, as I used to drink a lot.
I'm out of gallons.
Amendments to the agenda.
I have two amendments to the agenda. The first is I'm requesting the town of Benson discussion with the police contract to be bumped down until Jay Brown arrives. He's going to be late today. And I'm asking that a discussion be taken up by the Board of Selectmen about the Scotch Hill Brewery.
Okay.
That's to be added?
Yeah.
Under new
Any
business.
new business?
It can be old business, actually, yeah.
Scotch Hill?
Yeah.
Let's get it. Let's do it right now.
Yeah, let's do it front. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be.
Anybody want to make that
Scotch
motion?
instead of funny,
So moved.
Second?
yeah. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we have those two changes. Thank you. Any other amendments? Moving on, approval of the minutes for September 10th.
As presented on motion to that, JT approved.
I'll second it.
Any additions, deletions, corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? 5 minutes for public comment. There's a lot of public here. Wow. Okay. We'll move on then. Town of Benson has changed, do we want to do Scotch Hill before we get into?
I don't think it'd take that long.
Wayne may be a little more involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do Scotch Hill.
Not Wayne.
Okay.
Well, maybe I'll get Jay here too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do the Scotch Hill.
So,
Scotch Hill.
However you want to do it.
I don't know how I want to do this. We got a letter from the state of Vermont to Joe, and it said, congratulations on behalf of the Governor Scott, the Vermont General Assembly, and the Regional Economic Development Grant Committee. It is our great pleasure to inform you that your organization has been selected to receive a Building Communities Grant Award in the amount of $19,025 on behalf of the Scotch Hill Brewing Company, LLC, to purchase a 2-vessel brew house to produce beer at a new brewery. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
There is more, but it's rules and regulations you probably don't want to hear about.
Can we have a toast to that or something?
Yeah.
I think we're happy to see you guys, and we're thrilled by that.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Town is, we're hoping you'll be a great neighbor. I'm sure you will be.
Yeah. What do you want?
This is so Rutland Herald is here. Would you guys like to take a picture with Scotch Hill?
Sure.
Why not?
Yeah.
See what you did there. Don't think you're not in it.
We come around to the front.
Where are we going?
Let's-
Where do you want it?
Is there enough space by the flag?
Could be.
Could be.
It's always nice to get the flag.
We'll make it work.
I think you guys should be there.
Look at Joe.
Joe.
And we'll Photoshop Jay and.
Get in here.
Joe didn't bring left. We'll bring him right here in front, right out of it.
Congratulations.
There's a sweetheart right there.
Yeah, we gotta get you in there.
When they give you the big cardboard check, make sure you
Congratulations.
appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you.
When we get there.
Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. She's the reason we're doing all this, so.
Let me stand behind you. I'm a little forward.
You are?
I'll squeeze
I was gonna
in
say,
there.
I'm standing up between a bunch of tall people.
Can you get us all?
Anna, look at the
She's got her
camera.
wide angle lens
Say
on.
cheese.
Pepperoni,
1, 2,
cheese.
3. 1, 2, 3.
Smile.
Beautiful. Well done.
Very good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I don't remember getting that.
They didn't take our picture with the goat. Oh,
Anna,
that was the same thing. Are we not done? I think you are done.
I'm sorry, I did have one more amendment.
You have another amendment?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, there's been some concern about the Mechanic Street sidewalk project, and we brought the inspector in to talk about some of that too. A lot happened after the agenda went out.
Okay, so that,
We're gonna, why don't we do?
That could be old business.
Old business or new business?
Well, we want-
Bob is here to discuss.
Yeah, we'll put it there, but do it while we have them here.
Yeah. Is there anything else on the brewery?
No, that was it on the brewery.
Perfect.
good news.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mechanic Street sidewalk just goes into.
I think we just,
Amendments.
yeah, somebody want to make that motion, please?
Yes, sir.
I'll make the motion that we do the Mechanic Street, we add Mechanic Street sidewalk discussion under old business.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. We're trying to push stuff out, so that the last selectman that isn't here yet, but he's on a bus tour, so we'll have to allow for something. I think the good news portion of the meeting is over. We will now commence with what usually happens. So do we want to do, want to talk about the Bobcat, or do you want to go right into,
I'd
We
rather
can't
wait
shoot.
till Jay's here for the Bobcat.
we should have started at 8.
Do department heads and town manager.
Yeah, there we go. We can do department heads.
I've been busy doing, like, the grading, got the grading, some of the grading that started there last week. Got the tractor back together, so I can start doing some mowing. We started on the box for the transfer station, getting that back, putting patches in it, getting it so they can use it again. That will be finished tomorrow. What else did I got? Got almost all of the swamp road trimmed back. We did down there, got brush in the morning and then that one straightened up. And then my plan is to go from there up to Scotch Hill and start on that project. Try to get some of that done before snow falls. Gotta start getting bids on sand. The salt's all set.
I'm hearing sand is, going through the roof. Is that
I
something?
don't know about my other.
Have we been?
I gotta put it down with the bids.
Better do
What
that.
about the salt bids? Has that gone high or?
That went up $1 a ton.
Sand or something.
No.
Guess that's about it.
So I'm back from vacation. Not a whole lot to report. If you were at the Apple Fest, I heard it went really well. Congratulations to the school. If you down there, you saw people with their goat shirts on. Mr. and Mrs. Stanton sold $1,258 worth of goat shirts for fundraiser. So, yeah, I know the number keeps creeping up.
Yep.
That's good news. We placed an order for the sign, the one that got run over, the Fairhaven sign, so that's going up. Yes. And Scotch Hill Brewery won the grant, so that's great. We're moving forward with the salt shed. Bids came in for the engineering, and that was sitting on the table. We only had one One person bid. We did have 6 companies come out and look at the project, but we only had the one that came in, so it's a very reasonable price, I thought. And other than that, budget stuff is in, almost all departments are in now. And we'll start reviewing on our end this week and next, and then the Board of Selectmen will have their first review on the 8th. Perfect. And that's all I got for you.
No communications?
We did get a communication from a young lady that was upset that there was a mower on her property. We got that out of there.
A mower?
Yeah, the roadside mower was sitting there for a little while. Other than that, somebody else, I did get an email saying somebody else got hurt on the train tracks. Still waiting for information, yeah, still waiting for information on that. I think that's all I did. Am I forgetting something?
No, I'm just thinking of.
We haven't heard anything about a start date on that crossing repair?
Yeah, I forgot about that. This one down here on 22.
Yeah.
They're starting that next month. We're on 22. On 22 up the hill.
They got hurt on it.
Yeah, I know. I forgot, I guess he called me this morning. The detour is gonna go around Swamp Road, if that's okay. That's the
What we
only place
usually
I
do.
figured
Oh,
out.
we usually do.
So, but that starts first of the month. And then I took it.
Did they talk at all about the 4A, the?
I ain't heard nothing about that.
Oh, I'm wondering, I don't know how that affects our liability, but I wonder if we should put at least a caution, danger, something.
Some kind of sign.
up.
They have stuff
Yeah,
up.
a warning sign for
There is a
motorcycles,
sign.
but I think it ought to be.
I haven't been. down there in
Cones
a
and
while.
everything, barrel.
I mean, it says motorcycles use caution
Yeah.
one way, and I think it just says
Bump or
caution.
something.
Oh, okay.
on the other way.
Okay. Then maybe the state put something out, or it wasn't us, right?
No, the state did it.
You know, it's awful to have to think that way, but if we do something, then we take some sort of responsibility, I suppose. But, okay.
Last time we detoured like that, they gave them some notice and they tried to detour trucks a different way.
Yeah, we got a hold
Like
of
they
the
tried to
state
stop
police
'em.
and got them over on the 4.
But they-
Rambled that way down.
They set up a truck detour a couple weeks before or whatever.
Some,
Well, that's, I figured the trucks would ride around Swamp Road. The bigger trucks.
Right, they limited it
They
even
started
more.
this one back where North Granville, where 40 comes into North Granville.
They just tried to pull some of the traffic out.
Stock and brought them up 4.
But I think it was a lot longer. This is just a day or two.
4 days I believe it's gonna be. That Jesse said.
But usually the state would be involved in that,
Yeah.
so.
Message board up on 22 acre.
Put it on our website.
Put a notice.
They had a practice run the other day, their lights were on for half a day.
Did we hear back, you said there was, an engineer had to check to see if upstairs, if we met everything, did we get that any back yet?
I haven't, Mr. Ferguson from here in town, his engineer propped it up just like it was. But as we move forward with the elevator, no, I haven't got an engineer to take a look at the supports yet for that. We're slowly plodding through all of it. Yes. It's a lot going on right now.
Anything else?
No, I think that's it. Okay.
Chief, report once.
Bill?
He's signing his name.
You got any department head stuff?
I don't at the moment.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
Thanks, Dave.
Let's start with.
Let's jump to the delinquent tax policy. And then
Probably do mechanic too.
yeah. What else we have?
Get that one done.
Yeah, okay,
So this is the same, it's the same policy as last time, except we edited number 2, saying that the delinquent taxpayer must pay, in order to get an agreement with the town of Fairhaven, they must pay their quarterly payments on time. And that was the requested addition.
Do you need a motion?
I do, I can use a motion
Motion
for signature.
to accept the new Town of Fairhaven, Vermont policy for collection of delinquent taxes.
Second.
I'll second it.
Discussion? Essentially just amended, that particular line is amended, nothing else has changed. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Now that the board has approved this, we'll start our tax sales. We'll start that process up again.
All right, well, let's go with Mechanic Street, so we can move on that. Can you give us an update, and then we have, I know there's some questions.
Okay, so I'm Bob Rossi, and with Staff Sterling Management, we have resident engineering services, inspection, testing for the contract. At this point, most of the sidewalk is in. They're working on the the 2 intersections of 4th and Mechanic, the 4 corners that need to be built out. And tomorrow they'll be pouring concrete in those areas. And the project is moving along. It has not, we've been pulling it down the road basically, but it's coming along. I'd like to think that it would be done by October 7th, which is the end of the contract. The contractor has 3 subcontractors they're going to have to bring in. One paving contractor, the other will be a contractor to put up the signage, any signs that are being changed. And the third being the line striping and the stop bars and so on. Some of the old stuff has to be ground off, and then the new paint will go down. It's not very likely that they're going to meet that time frame. There's, what are we talking about, 8 more work days? Something like that. Other than that, the project has had its issues. We've had 2 telephone poles that weren't where the design put them. Green Mountain Power may have decided that they were too close to the road for the design. I don't know. So we've had to go around 2 poles. And what we did was, at the pole, leave 6 inches of space between the pole and the sidewalk, and narrow the sidewalk down to 4 feet, just where the pole is. The outside line continues the same, but the sidewalk literally wraps around the pole. So we have to do that in 2 places because, again, the poles are not where they show on the plans. To get Green Mountain Power to come back to reset poles for the sidewalk is not going to happen. So we did the best we could to maintain a straight line through there. Other than that, things are going well. Grass is starting to grow. Residences on the southern block are overrunning the topsoil. It's been topsoil and seeded, and they're literally driving 40 feet down the sidewalk and then into their driveway. So thank you very much. Apparently someone's not happy with that sidewalk being there.
This on Mechanic Street, or?
On Mechanic Street, yeah.
The southern part.
The southern, yeah, the lower part, and it's very evident. You know, down the sidewalk and taking out all the topsoil in the green space, which has
Couldn't,
been
couldn't our police be there
raked
to
in and seeded and
rectify
so
that?
on.
Probably not all the time.
Yeah. I don't,
I've got a game camera or two.
other than that, project is going fine. It's going. I know the town would have hoped it would have been long completed by now,
Or postpone.
or postponed, which that wasn't in the books apparently.
Bob, can you talk about the dips in the cement? Because I think that's what a lot of concern is. Come winter time, we're gonna have pools of water in the
Pool that
place.
would freeze.
Yeah.
By the high school.
It seems like the intent of the designer was to have the sidewalk follow the contours of the land. Mechanic Street is basically a sandbar. It's almost dead flat. And everything that is above that sandbar is the road itself, and any material that's been excavated for foundations, it's been put around the houses, and all the low-lying areas are in between the houses. That's the old sandbar. So the sidewalk has to go from driveway to driveway, driveway to driveway. But in between, we have low areas, the original sandbar. And the intent of the designer was to not make the sidewalk, I'm speaking for the designer, but I see it. The intent was to not make the sidewalk prominent in people's yards as it went through. So it follows, and it does that all through all the way up to the school. It follows the contours more. Otherwise, you'd have some areas that would have to be filled. And then you've got the sloping on the backside. And sometimes that sloping, depending upon how steep it is, would have to be beyond the right of way possibly. So that opens up a whole nother thing. There are areas that, as it was being built, I looked at it and I said, again, to get the water, ideally you want the water to sheet from the sidewalk onto the street. But because of these elevations just outside the roadway, the sidewalk is going to be lower. Or again, it gets built up and it just doesn't look right. Doesn't go with the flow, so to speak. There have been some concerns about one, and I'm assuming it's the worst one being between number 50, is it 52, 53, and 26A, so the corner house and the next house north, 26A, there's a low, and then there's another one beyond that.
At the high school.
Two low areas. And of course, it has to go through the driveway at the same elevation. So we're locked into that. It's what do you do with the areas in between? And the designer decided to follow the contours of the land. So at the lowest point in that area, it is even with the grass. I was there the other day. I'm there every day. I'm on site every day, but I took a level and put it on the sidewalk and put it on the lawn, and it's at the same elevation as the lawn. Again, the intent being to not have it be built up and be more prominent. In order for the water to sheet from the outside edge of the sidewalk all the way into the street, you'd have to raise it, I don't know, 6, 7 inches anyway, probably. A lot of the sidewalk doesn't sheet into the street because of the elevation issue. And that's why it was challenging. I question that low spot between 53 and 26A, and I wrote it in my daily report every day. And I wrote it up in a report, and I questioned. I said, okay, we're going to take a look at this with the contractor. I said, just let's make sure we got what we're supposed to have here. So their man came in with modern, they don't use a transit anymore, it's GPS and all of that, and we started out with a benchmark. On the plans, there are benchmarks, different elevations around the area, whether they be most of them, they'll take it from the top of a catch basin, from the top of the steel frame, because they don't move too much. So we did that. So I said, okay, let's go over, let's check what you've got with the benchmarks. So went to a benchmark, and I said, what have you got for a number? And I'm looking at the plans, and I know what the elevation is according to the plans. And it wasn't right there, it might have been off the 10th, something like that, very small amount. So after checking a couple benchmarks, then we went over to the sidewalk in the low area. And apparently it's built according to design. And I looked the man in the eye, I said, this is built to design, because I'm not reading it. All this information is put into a computer ahead of time. It's all fed into a computer that's brought around with all the elevations in. And they said, and it was Justin Parker, who's Roger's son, Roger being the owner of the company. And it was Justin who said yes. And he did all the plotting for it. The whole project originally, and continues to check certain things from time to time. The only thing he could tell me was it was built according to plans.
Well, that's not very reassuring, to be perfectly honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so we're supposed to accept the fact that we're gonna have water on that sidewalk?
Apparently, according to the design.
Now, how did,
But you couldn't call the engineer up and say, come out here and take a look at this doesn't look.
yeah, I mean, it's.
I mean, you can obviously see that on one side of the grass is this much higher than the other.
It's like that in many places.
But I'm saying, that engineer could have said, why don't you just raise that up, make that even?
It would have to be raised about 6 inches.
So?
But as I say,
now
there
I
are.
got 6 inches of water setting there.
No, you won't have 6 inches of water, Sam. Again, I put a level, and it's the same elevation as the grass.
I'll take a look right there, and you've got 6 inches of grass on one side.
At the lowest point,
It might go the other way.
and I'm not gonna argue with Sam, okay, at the lowest point, it is at the same elevation as the lawn. And I believe that was the intention of the designer.
To follow the
Not have it prominent and have a ramp and have, this, and it's not just there, as it goes to the next house, as it goes up Mechanic, as it comes down Mechanic. Oftentimes it is lower than the roadway, only because it would have to come up too much. It wouldn't look right. I think you'd have a lot more issues with homeowners if you built it any other way, because it would just be too prominent.
It's, until we actually saw it, our problem is, until we actually saw it, none of us here are engineers, none of us here
Right.
had any idea that we were building the contour. We assumed
Mm-hmm.
things that, that we felt made sense, that you would keep it so the water wouldn't stay on the sidewalk. I mean, it doesn't really become a sidewalk, it becomes a skating rink at that point. What can we do to mitigate this? And you're kind of saying there's nothing to mitigate. We're left with I keep using the word this week, I'm sorry, but liability,
I think it's maybe blown a little bit out of proportion also. I don't think that it's as big as some folks think it is. I don't know how many people have actually walked it, or if they're just driving by and looking at it.
I'm driving,
You know, this is-
Yeah, I did that.
Because it is, it's, if you look at it from the road, it's low, but again, that's what the designer drew. And that, those are the plans that the city bought, the town bought.
But we didn't think we had to hire another engineer to check the engineers, who check the engineers, who to check the designer, who, and then to have the person who's overseeing seeing the project tell us that's the problem, that's a problem. Well, you know, but there's nothing you can do about it. It's a little frustrating.
Well, it can't, again, it can't be fixed, but it won't, I've repeated the issues a few times now.
Mhm.
It would be too prominent in the homeowner's yards.
Well, the last thing we want to do, obviously, is backwater towards their property, towards their sellers, but, and having grown up on Mechanic Street, I understand what you're talking about. There's no drainage, there's, you know, I know what you're talking about. It's just, I'm not speaking for the rest of the board, I don't understand where we can come up with any kind of fix if everybody says, oh, that's what you got. I mean, I'm a little disappointed in that whole part of it. I mean, the first and only time I've ever heard lay of the land was tonight. You know, we probably would have called that to attention a lot sooner if we had known.
True, you folks aren't engineers and you may not be able to read the elevations and the blueprints and all that. Although just standing somewhere in the street and attempting to know what you're looking at without, you know, some relativity, it's not always easy either, unless it's something that you do.
Yeah. Oh, granted, but
You know.
my question now is, what's our recourse if we find out that it's unacceptable?
I'm hearing that,
Remove it and replace it.
but I'm hearing that you don't think it's an issue, that the water isn't actually going to pool there. That's what I heard you say.
There's roughly 90 feet in between, 93 feet in between those two driveways. And the water isn't going to pool on the whole 90 feet of sidewalk. It's going to meet, it's going to head for the lowest part. And there is a low spot. And again, that is at the same elevation as that lawn. So there is a way for it to drain.
It's gonna,
There may be a small area, like one panel, because it's not in a big area, but you know, the lowest part is in a small area. And I can't tell you that once that sand gets saturated this winter and freezes solid, that it won't hold water. I can't tell you that.
and with snowbanks it probably will.
But I know for the most part, it's all going to drain down from these driveways that are above elevation on both sides. It's all going to want to make its way down. And the sidewalk is tipped towards the road, as it should be. So there is going to be, at the lowest point, there may be a small area that won't drain when it's frozen. It is all sand, so, but it's not frozen, it will readily sink into the ground for the amount of water that's there. The only fix is to remove it and replace it and pay for it. And then,
That's reassuring.
then you have to make a decision. You'd have to make a decision how high. What are you trying to gain? Because you have to go up a lot to get all that water to shed into the road. Otherwise, it's always going to pool behind the sidewalk, unless you bring it all the way up. And it isn't, it's like that very few places. a lot of the sidewalk is lower than the road. And again, it seems like aesthetically and so on, it would be the only way to do it.
So, you can understand the frustration. It sounds like we've got something we have to accept that we can foresee problems with.
Oftentimes there are compromises in design and engineering, especially in little stuff like this. That's about all I can say. Don't shoot the messenger.
No, I'm not, except that I'm thinking that the messenger is supposed to be our representative.
I am,
And,
every day.
and I don't know, I mean, we're looking at something we had no idea was part of it, because we got told we had a nicely engineered project. That may not necessarily be the case. I mean, it may be it may be the easiest way to go. But it's not the best way to go, and it certainly isn't. I mean, I must admit that the federal government paid for most of this, but it's wasted money if we've got a sidewalk that isn't going to work. It isn't going to be a sidewalk all the time.
Again,
Or, you know,
you're concentrating on a very small area out of 1,700 feet of sidewalk.
I hope so. I mean, I'm the one talking here, so yeah.
Well, again, I've already said that the sidewalk is lower than the road in many areas. Just because to build it all up would be
Logical. It's a shock, you know, that we were handed this. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I let somebody else talk. I repeated myself more than I allow other people to.
Chair's
I don't
prerogative.
know anything else you can do right now at this point.
Nothing else to add. I mean, it sounds like it's there. Changes at this point is going to cost money that we haven't budgeted and we don't necessarily have. I think we let our first winter go by. We need to go and see I want to see if the issues that we are afraid are going to happen. And if they do, where are they, and how do you mitigate that small area? I feel a lot better than.
Maybe the addition of a storm drain in that area.
The
water run through.
I don't know. But that's on our dime, though, is what you're saying.
Yes, as long as the contractor intends and can prove that it was built according to design, it's the design that the town bought. The way to get around these things is, of course, this is after the cow's been out of the barn, is to hire, another party to sift through those documents and look at them and see if they can find anything that maybe they're more apt to question, or I don't know.
Yeah,
How many people do we need to look at these things?
that's exactly. Exactly.
I
And
understand. I understand.
you assume that people take this into account, and then until you get the filing.
The only other thing is, if folks had taken the plans and gotten the designer down here and said, okay, what does this look like as we go through here? What does it do? All these lines and all these numbers, what does it mean? What does it look like? But oftentimes that isn't done, because a designer could tell you
I guess
ahead of time.
in my opinion, when they say follow the grade, you assume that it's going to contour from the road to the sidewalk to the lawn and not be below the grade of that line.
Usually you take a benchmark and you go 6 inches.
Well, no, I understood that it was going to go like this,
Yeah.
but I guess I didn't realize from the road to the sidewalk to the lawn
Mhm.
wouldn't be a pitch one way or the other. Like I would get if there was a puddle beside the sidewalk, but I'm missing why the sidewalk ended up being the lowest point in the situation.
And again, it isn't everywhere.
Right,
It's
right,
not everywhere. There are places where the sidewalk will sheet
right.
into the street, as it should, as I would want to build it.
Right.
Unfortunately, the contours of
Didn't allow.
what you've got down there on Mechanic Street, it could be done, but it would be, it would not be right. It would not be right.
What's the difference, how much difference is there to that and 4th Street? I mean, is that just because there's a steady incline there, or I don't know what?
4th Street.
4th Street is
The perpendicular street.
Yes, I know. You mean the upper block that goes into the school?
Well, we didn't run across this at all, and on that particular sidewalk.
Oh,
And I'm not sure what the difference is. I don't know. I mean, it may just be that there's that much of an incline and
maybe
it
the
works out,
topography is different.
but it's right there. You know, it's concerning.
No, I know what you're saying. That's why I purposely asked the contractor to come in and verify these dimensions.
Yeah.
And,
Then I think we're talking to the wrong people.
The engineering firm.
The designer too, but I just, we're looking at a problem and we're trying to figure out how to get through it.
You're looking at a problem that may be only about this wide, though.
Yeah.
That's my point. It may
Yeah.
only be this wide.
I guess we're gonna find out.
We'll see what it does.
Well, the problem is the different winter conditions.
I know.
Will change the conditions. I mean, it could sink into the soil
3 winters.
most
Three winters
of
in
the
a row.
year, most of the winter, and only because of the conditions, snow, amount of snow, all that stuff. It will change every year. You might not see a problem for 4 years.
Well, let's
Well,
see what happens.
duly noted.
All the sand out there will certainly be to your benefit, no doubt about it. But again, as we know, saturated sand will freeze, and it won't take water. But I'm under the impression that the intention of the designer was at that point, the water would flow out into the yard at the lowest point.
Other questions? I don't want to belabor this.
And you think it
Pretty well
will?
beat this dead horse, but.
You think it will flow out at this point?
Time will tell.
Oh, yes. Yeah, yeah. The sidewalk does have a pitch, still has a pitch to it.
Right.
So, so it has to get over that pitch, but it's
Yeah.
not, it's not much. It's not a lot of pitch.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you,
We
folks.
probably
Thank
will
you
be
for your
talking
time.
again at some point to see what we can do.
Okay.
Thanks.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Hey Bob, can you leave that door open for me?
Sure.
Please.
I guess we'll get Wayne here. You've got a long way to go home. Someday I'd like to talk to you. Whatever, Mike. No. I think we asked Joe to communicate what, if there was anything we can do.
Sure.
And I'll let you talk, but
thought what I would maybe start with here, just to give you a little bit of idea of what's in here and kind of the three major components. So, you know, the short answer, I'll tell you, I mean, this is more than I think what any of us would like to see here.
Just not engineer night tonight.
No, so, you know, the problem is you can always reduce the cost, and you can do that by reducing scope, and it becomes a question of, you know, what stays in and what the priorities are. You're dealing with some of the decisions here back 50 years ago, that if you had two ditches out there, this would be a lot different discussion right now. So, you know, you're dealing with a single 50-year-old structure that doesn't meet state requirements. And then the other fact is, you know, you get a lot of stuff out there that's 30 years that's at the end of its design life. So you can always take stuff out of the project, but just with the understanding here that, you know, if there's other things that probably should need to be done at some point, you know, that will need to be done. So what I thought I would do is just give you a really rough idea of kind of, so I'm going to just talk about the 6.5 million and what the percentages roughly are. So about 18% of that goes to what we call the headworks of preliminary treatment. So that's really this structure up here. And total portion of that is, you know, with everything in, is about 1.15 million. Now what happens there is, that's a classified space, so that's where the wastewater comes in. You have a grit removal system in there, you have a grinder. One of the things that was recommended is putting a screen in there. What the screen does is it removes the inorganic material, the plastics. So that's in there with the addition. Yeah, hi Jay. Hey. So that's pretty much what's in that amount of money. It's the new screen, it's the addition, it's the replacement of the 30-year-old grit removal system, all the appurtenances, pumps. Things are corroded, rotted in there, so it's, you know, heating, ventilation upgrades, electrical upgrades. A lot of that's really age-related stuff. One thing just to keep in mind with what's going on in that structure is it's important in the wastewater process, but you're probably not going to fill your permit if something happened in there, and I'm going to just kind of point that out of what some of the degree, just going to kind of say what some of the degree of risk is. So if less work or no work is done there, we all recognize that things should be done, but you know, that's probably not going to cause you to have a permit violation at some point. So the screen is required if you go with the other type of alternative we looked at for the biological treatment process. I think we talked about an SBR. So if you put an SBR system in, the screen's required, so dropping that would be an option. But it isn't required where you have the extended aeration process and the clarification as to what we proposed here. So the second piece of it is what we're calling the biological clarification. That's the biggie, because it's about, you know, 60% of the total cost. And we're going to abandon the existing 50-year-old oxidation ditch. You're getting two brand new aeration tanks over here that are to be built offline, all the associated piping and everything that goes along with that. The secondary clarifiers here, those are 30 years old. We're going to reuse the existing concrete tanks, replace all the equipment and the motors and all that stuff. And there's also some other pertinent stuff that's going, but that's really where a lot of the money is right now. From a risk standpoint, that's really critical, because if that ditch, anything ever happened to that ditch, is you can't bypass it, you can't get around it. You basically would lose your treatment process, and you're going to start having violations. The state's going to start coming in and you know, fines. Same thing with the clarifiers. Those are a little better. You've got two of them, so if one went down, you can still operate off one. But the challenge with a lot of that equipment is you don't get it overnight. You know, it's stuff that could take 3 or 4 months. So if you've got a clarifier down, it could be down for a while. So that's where a lot of the money is, and what we're calling the biological clarification.
So that's why there's 2 of each?
The clarifiers there was, yeah. So there's one ditch, but there are 2 secondary clarifiers, so that's okay. And we're going to continue to reuse those concrete structures because they're only 30-year-old, just replace all the equipment. The third piece, which is about 20% of the cost, is just kind of general age-related stuff around the plant. Buildings in pretty rough shape, the control building, you know, roof, you know, mechanical, electrical systems and all that, so there's a chunk of money in there. There's an influent pump station here that's included, so I'm just going to use the other color here. The internal pump station here. And then there's also a bunch of electrical kind of related stuff that's happening in this blower building. There's actually work in here proposed both under the biological clarification and under the age-related, so this is a little bit of a combination. And then there are a couple of roofs, so that last piece of it is primarily age-related. That's got obviously less risk in it too. When we're talking about roofs, there's a few things you could probably do out of your capital budget, like maybe for the pump station, you know, and even a few things you could do with the control building. So, you know, that's kind of where generally where the three buckets of money are. So if you want to cut, you know, the 6.5 down to roughly 5 or something below that, you know, to me, I guess, you know, and fully get a lot of money, and, you know, that's, everybody should be concerned about the cost. Probably the simplest thing would be to take out the works at the headworks, so you wouldn't get the new screen, you wouldn't replace the grip mobile system, you know, you wouldn't do much of anything to that building. You know, that would cut about 1.15 million. And then the second piece of that to try to get you under 5 would really be to reduce the scope here, you know, what you're doing on the control building, maybe not do anything at the pump station, and a little bit of the electrical work. So, you know, those couple things in combination could get you under 5 million.
One question.
Yep.
What if you cut back on the control building and electrical? Isn't that part of our problem we're having now?
Well, I think what I would probably do, Jay, is I would probably, I'd say the control building stuff is more kind of aesthetic kind of things like that. But you're right, there is a bunch of electrical in here that's 30 years old that you would still want to do. So
I mean, if you're
Yep.
changing your pumps and everything else,
Yep, that's right.
I would think the electrical would be
Yep.
one of the main things we'd have to
It
keep.
is, yeah. And that's why on the age-related stuff, that's worth about 1.3 million. And if you, you know, if you're trying to get under 5 million, you're going to cut about 350,000 of that. I totally agree. I wouldn't cut the electrical out of this. It would be, you know, some of the stuff for the buildings, the roofs, maybe the pump station, some of the more what I'm going to just kind of term some of the non-critical stuff. So,
One of the things that we were told by Peter Larry the last time he was here was they were having trouble with the grit removal system.
Yeah.
Heating up pumps and stuff, so I don't know.
yeah, I know. That's exactly.
That's why it's there.
You know, that's why it's there, because it's, you know, the screen is pulling the plastics, all that inorganic stuff out of the stream. We're having an often issue with pumps plugging, you know, so if that's carried into your treatment process, you know, it's ending up in the pumps, it's plugging the pumps up, same thing for the grit. So there's, you know, there's trade-offs. It's not gonna cause probably an effluent violation, but becomes kind of a pain from a maintenance standpoint, because that stuff isn't getting pulled out, you know, pulled out of the full stream, John, so, yeah.
The other question that I asked
Yep.
the other day was, how can we build more revenue into this plant?
Need more users, more customers, yeah.
Could we take like RV waste?
You could, yep.
What would we have to do to this plant to take it? Pete says this plant, as designed, it would kill the bugs when you dumped in large quantities of.
Yeah, it depends how you take it. So, the RV waste, probably not as much of a big deal, but if you're gonna start taking septage,
Or septage,
for
yeah.
example, what you would do is you would put it up into the headworks here probably, and that needs to go through a screen, because you can get a lot of stuff in that. You're gonna get more of the plastics and those kind of things, and it create headaches. You could take it, it's a revenue stream. A lot of places do it, you know, Milton, Montpelier, Essex Junction, but, you know, they've got the proper, Newport City, they got the proper screening. So in that case, what you're doing is you're building more stuff now to, you know, to take more revenue, so there's trade-offs. Back a few years ago, what you could do is you could get a 35% grant on that stuff. And you start looking at that, you could kind of make the numbers work a little bit and say, if I spent some money so I could take more septage and that kind of stuff, you get more revenue and you could justify the additional expense to do that. But that's going to be a tough one for you guys. It could be a revenue stream.
Those grants are obviously not.
Yeah, back 5 or 6 years ago, Bob, yeah.
Because we still have a lot of plant capacity.
You do, absolutely, that's
Okay.
right. Yep, you do, both on the flow side and the organic loading, so, you know, additional revenue is, you're in the business of selling water and providing sewer, And you want to try to optimize, that's the way you get the cost of, everything, the operations and the debt and everything down, Jeff.
Can we look at that, like a partial budget on that?
We could, I'm gonna tell you it's not cheap though. It's gotta be inside, it's a structure, that's not a cheap, and I'm just telling, that's not.
Not even worth looking at.
It's a $500,000 to $1 million expense just to do that, to set it up right. It's not like a $250,000 thing.
But I'm feeling like we could double our user base, essentially, and cut our rates in half.
We could look at some numbers on there. You could see how much you would have to take to cover that additional debt requirement. Yep.
You know, so if it's only 20% more debt, but half the rate, it might make sense.
Yeah.
In the beginning, when we started doing this design, we did ask
All right.
about the structures that would be required to bring in somebody and allow to dump in.
Just asking.
The numbers versus what
Didn't
we
work.
could, what we're gonna have to poach from other towns and other people accepting, and are they going to be willing to come here? So it's not like you're gonna get 100% of revenue from everybody. The numbers were very tight and almost not feasible.
We just have to be the cheapest.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if you're the cheapest, you're probably not
But
gonna.
you're saying that the plan itself would take RV. So if somebody had a RV they wanted to come in and dump.
Sure, that's right.
People in the area wanted.
That's right, yeah.
That wouldn't be a problem.
No, probably not. Yep.
Now.
You're looking at 50 gallons the most.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
That's why we
It
say
was
it's not a
the-
big deal.
And that's usually pretty clean. too.
It was when they brought 6,000 gallons of
Yeah.
sludge or
Oh,
whatever.
Yeah.
septic tank, structure, all that.
Yeah, some of the big revenue sources, other side would be septage, and again, you're gonna be competing against Rutland and those places, so you're gonna have to drop your rate, so if somebody's, it's all comes down to haul costs, so you're gonna drop your rate, and then it's gonna be hard to really make money at it, because you don't wanna take it unless you can really make money at it, use it as a revenue stream. Because it does have other associated costs too, Jeff, because if you're taking, you got more stuff to dispose of, it's gotta go into a dumpster, you're gonna be generating more sludge out of it too, so there are trade-offs with that, so you gotta make sure you cover your
So
costs.
if we're stealing Rutland septic, they're probably not gonna be as receptive to taking our sludge back.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay,
Two questions.
just worth asking.
That come to my mind. When I went down there, I went on my tour, and Peter told me that if we were to have a major power outage, it's basically the system we have now, is gravity flow and work.
Yeah.
And I looked at I asked him a question, and he said, good question to ask you. So with the 2 aeration tanks coming in, I'm saying, does gravity, do we need, to be thinking in this project that is our backup generator good enough to get the stuff through the aeration, up into the aeration tank, or would it still be gravity flow?
Still gravity,
It's
yeah.
still
That's the benefit with this approach here, is that we're able to fit this within what we call the hydraulic profile, so we're still maintaining gravity flow through the aeration tanks and the clarifiers just here at the ditch. When we looked at the other SBR option, that was one of the negatives, because we did have to pump up here too. And if you have to pump up that, then you absolutely have to have emergency power to maintain that flow, so. That's another reason why this really kind of proved favorable from a construction and operating cost standpoint.
And second question, so that's good. So the second question, when I looked at the 6.5 million to do the things that we wanted to, that's the cost prior to, if we were to get some grants or whatever, that's the top end.
That's correct, yeah.
So if we're looking at, because I'm just trying to think, if we're trying like heck to trim $1 million to $1.5 million, and we're also get this bond going, and we're out there trying to get close to $1 million, and help. What I saw when I went around there was there's even things you haven't circled that were in pretty bad shape down there. The one where the handle, where it finally goes out the other end and the handle just rusted off on returning the valve on. The steps that pretty much the concrete has gone away for. It's the general.
40?
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
And some of that stuff is in there, we just don't get to that level of detail.
Okay.
But I think you're referring to the steps at the clarifiers,
Yeah.
so that would be to fix. We did have, And probably the handles,
some
I think
things
there
in
were
there.
some gates down here at the tank that we did throw some allowances, but those could be some of the things that could be cut. They are in there now, so, yeah.
The other big question from last week was the contingency costs on this.
Yep, so basically, if you go in the report, you know, so there's a couple things we're doing here, is we're doing everything in current construction costs. So the first thing we're doing is we're extending the construction costs out 2 years, because best case scenario, you're probably not starting construction until, 2021 in the spring. It's set up to go out to bid. So to get from the construction cost to the total project cost, there's a 10% construction contingency in there. The state requires that you carry at least 10%. And then once you open bids, assume the bids come in, that gets reduced to 5%, so there's some flexibility there. The rest of that is engineering. The state requires, full contract documents. So in a project like this, as you know, there's probably a team of 7 or 8 engineers. We got everything from civil site, got a structural engineer, there's a mechanical that's doing the heating and ventilation stuff, there's all the electrical, there's the controls, there's architectural components with the building. So that's a huge effort. And then this last part of that is the bid construction-based services. So duration on something like this is probably a year at least, depending how it falls in the winter. So, full-time resident services, that's all in there. The other parts of that are in there too are permit fees, legal fees, there's allowances for short-term interest and all that. So that's generally how you're getting from the construction up to the total project costs. Yep.
I mean,
You didn't leave us long in the spot.
it's our turn.
Yep.
I don't see how we can take anything out and do the right thing. I mean, even the more aesthetic things, the building, making so it's easier to work around. I mean, that's part of that, the aesthetics, but it's also a safety thing, I think. It's a huge project for a town that's not looking at getting a lot of infrastructure help from the feds. But I don't see how we get around it. I'm not in favor of taking anything out, so.
Another thing.
No, but I think we had to ask
Can
the
we,
question.
if we go with the bond vote for this, does everybody in the town vote for it?
Yes, they have to, because your sewer fund is an enterprise fund, so the town is the debtor on everything, so that's why the entire town
So
has
the
to-
entire town can pay for it then?
They could, okay, so let me back up, so the entire town votes. The only exception to that is if you have a fire district, so like over in Castleton where you have a fire district, then you have to live within those boundaries to be able to vote on the project, okay? So back to the second question, so it is an enterprise fund. Typically, it's the sewer customers that are paying for the debt retirement, the operating costs. It is strictly a board decision, though, that some portion of the debt retirement could be put on the town tax base. That is done in some cases, I would say probably more in some of the small villages where the customers, everybody kind of has service within the boundaries. I can tell you that if, in my experience, I've had that tried in 2 or 3 places, and it's very, very hard, even harder to pass a bond vote. Because what happens is that those outside the sewer service area are saying, why am I paying for the sewer plant? I've got my own septic system, I'm kind of responsible for my stuff. I don't necessarily agree with that argument, because you need the infrastructure in the town to support the schools and the businesses and the restaurants and the town facilities, and that's really kind of a town resource, part of the infrastructure, but that's the argument you're going to hear, so.
My problem is when we bump the numbers to $66 a quarter.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money on the people that's gonna be here.
It is.
And I mean,
Yeah.
I could see half.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the tax, that was in the tax rate for the other half.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think the people around here should not have to pay nothing, but $66 a quarter is a lot of money, and our town, we have a lot of retirees in
Oh,
the
yeah.
town.
Yep,
and-
yep. The
and it's
MHI.
hard, it's hard right now paying.
Yeah, the
basically.
MHI is low here, no doubt, yeah.
I think they're two separate arguments, so I think we gotta have this, and it's probably wise to do the traditional funding structure, at least for the bond issue, and then present the town a different way of paying for it afterwards, with a bond issue that would say we'd do it anyways, no matter what, and make that argument.
I'm all for, I agree, we need
Can you ask
6.5
questions like
million,
that?
and we should go for the
Can I ask
bond
two
vote.
questions at the same time?
No, I'm not asking.
Oh, okay, all right.
But going, if you're gonna ask
Confuse
me
me.
as a taxpayer to vote on a $6.5 million bond, my first question, whether I'm used water and sewer or not, is what's the effect gonna be on me? What's my tax rate? Not that, I'm not gonna feel comfortable if you say we'll figure it out. If you and if you tell me that.
No, I'm not.
No, but what you were saying is, it's gonna be the $66. I'm saying,
Yeah.
if we're really looking, and I can't support the $66, so I'm saying, no.
How
and if
can you
we're-
not?
I'm in the camp that says the 6.5 million, and as a starting point, just to discuss how to pay for it, because that's what it's all about. Yeah, I would say do a 25% increase. We just did a rate increase for sewer to $16.30 per quarter. 25% would bring us up to $20.38, and the rest comes, we figure a way to pay it through a general fund, so that at least the people that are coming in voting know that they're gonna be paying for it. Now, if you say, what I heard is, people are saying, well, I'm not getting anything, I'm not gonna vote for it. Fine, I wanna give them the most information I can up front that I expect them to pay for it. I don't want them to think that I slid something by them by telling them that it was gonna be, just the ratepayers, because I would feel like we weren't being totally transparent with them.
So
I hear what you're
If we
saying.
didn't, I have to agree with what he's saying, because if you go through this and say you're gonna have just users pay for it, and then when our next budget comes in, we slap this in the budget, our budget isn't gonna get passed, because people are gonna say to us, you weren't upfront with us.
Well, I still think it's two arguments, and
It's two arguments, but I don't know how, like, if we do a bond vote for 6.5 million. We'll probably need some kind of information meeting before then, but we'll have to answer those questions of, how you paying for this?
If it was 30% for everybody up front, and the other 70% coming out of the sewer
And
plant.
right, there's nothing magical about the percentage, I'm just saying, let's start, maybe it is 30% or whatever, but there's some kind of shared payment in order to get it done. Because if the answer is, no, there isn't, 66, I can tell you, I don't support $66.
And here's what I'm afraid of. And
Then we
what I'm
gotta go
afraid
back
of
and cut.
is that we won't get our project, which we need. And so it's just, if you don't support the project, no matter where the money comes from,
You have to live within your means, and I don't
Yeah.
believe that's living within our means.
then what do?
Then
We just let
we
that
take a-
rot around
we
our
take-
ears?
No, we take a smaller bite, then we go back, we know different than if our bond vote doesn't go through, we gotta sharpen our pencils and come back and make the tough,
We may have to go back to where you were just talking about, where
think
it
that's-
could be.
where you can take $1.5 million
Where you could cut
out.
$1.5 million
That's
out
a
of it.
very bad way of thinking. That's a
Oh,
horrible way of thinking.
Well, I
I mean,
disagree.
sometimes in a generation, you do stuff. People built the schools in their generation. They built the infrastructure that we have now
And
in their
sometimes you
generation.
just, and sometimes you
it's
just
our
have to
turn.
say
What
no.
does everybody pay for when they build a new school, Bob?
Yeah, but I understand, but nobody paid for, nobody but the water and sewer
You
budget.
take the blunt on everything. This
So far,
whole thing,
they've been
this benefits the entire town, not
I-
just the 900 people that are on the system.
I agree. And I don't have any problem saying to somebody, we're going to finance this traditionally, but we are going to come to you with a proposal,
You'll never-
town meeting or something like that,
you'll never
that
get
we
your
want to
budgets
change the
passed.
way it goes.
I will not support a traditional myself.
I think we should be upfront with them, let them know that this is the only way it can be
Then you won't
done.
have a bu- Then you are sabotaging.
No, you're not.
I am not,
that
I am
project.
not, I'm trying to hold my taxes down to where I can afford to live in
And
this town.
everybody can afford to live here, not just the.
Yeah.
Because on top of this right here, heck, our 6.5 million is gonna sound like nothing when the bond vote for the school hits
It's
us.
that 30 million.
Oh, 68 million if they build if school, if they just do the upgrade, it's 30 million. And I don't know how as taxpayers, our 6.5
We're being held
sounds.
hostage by the school.
No,
Now,
I'm telling you that I, as a taxpayer who just saw his taxes go up by $200 this year, which I thought was a little bit of a surprise. But to turn around and say, I want to take, and you just got to take one for the team, you've got to go down and fix this, I'm saying, no. We probably should have put, in hindsight, more money in reserve because we had a wastewater plant to replace long before now, but we're looking at it late. And if I have to go, no different than my budget at home, if I have to go and figure out how I'm going to make it, I may have to cut $1.5 million out of this.
you know why we don't have it in the reserve account? Because nobody wanted to raise taxes before. Anybody on any one of these boards in the last 30 years didn't want to do that. Now you're offering the same thing on a project that we have to do.
Taxes are already raising every time I turn around. I'm just saying we have to get a little more fiscally responsible. We got infrastructure, and it's more infrastructure than just our wastewater. We've got our streets and everything else, our wastewater drains. We have infrastructure all around us.
But it may be irresponsible not to do this.
Can I ask,
Go ahead.
what are the fines? Say that plant fails and doesn't clean. I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, no, that's a good question.
Are we talking 10,000 a day, or are we talking
It's a hard one.
10,000 a year?
Probably more than days. Yeah, it depends how long it is and how serious it is.
I guess my question, I don't really support this idea, but what happens if you just fix that plant as it needs it? And
That's what the project is.
And we budget money to buy those pumps and have the pumps in stock and. No,
I
I'm
heard
saying.
there were no fines if you had a failure in the headworks, there was no fines.
No, I'm saying
Earlier
don't.
That wouldn't.
I'm saying don't build this project.
That wouldn't.
Just keep fixing your plant. That is an option.
Yeah, when I went down for my
It's
tour, we had a
safe
pump
for-
down that they were having to fix that same day. and it
Because I
wasn't-
don't think
We have to have
halfway
redundancy.
halfway fixing that plant is any better than not fixing it.
We don't have.
Because you
we have
spent
to
the
have-
money and then you have to fix the pump
Nope.
that goes that you didn't replace, right?
Aren't we required to have redundancy so the lagoon
That's right.
doesn't work anymore?
This
Won't work.
ditch, you could never build this nowadays. The state, I'm not
Couldn't
sure
do it?
that I know. Ever since I've been doing this, you've had to have 2 of those. You've had to have redundant systems. Our big concern here with the ditch is the structure's 50 years old. And we've thought, and I tell you, we've done a lot of brainstorming to see how we could take that offline and inspect it and do any repairs. We just really could not come up with any way to do it, still comply. See, in the old days, what you could do like 10 or 12 years ago, you could go to the state and give you this emergency pollution permit, and you could take this offline for 3 or 4 months, and you could take it out of service, and those are gone. So throughout the construction process, that's where a bunch of the cost is, but you have to maintain and stay in compliance with your permit during the construction period. One thing I just for thought, I'm not advocating, it's really your decision between the project size. I did run numbers on a $5 million project just for curiosity here, so you can understand at least what the funding could look like. And this was timely because they met with a bunch of their funding group here yesterday afternoon, which includes, so this would very likely be a joint funded project between the state and USDA rural development, okay? Because you're lower median household income and all that, you're a great candidate for USDA rural development. So from the state, basically you could get in the range of loan subsidy, which means you wouldn't have to pay this back at all, about $125,000 on any of the engineering. So because you went through this qualifications-based selection process, the work that's been done, the engineering work that's going to be done for the design, you qualify for up to 50% each year, up to $100,000 on that. So that could even be more than that number. They have a pollution control grant, which you qualify, which is about 10% of the total project cost, so that's about $500,000. Now, the catcher with USDA rural development is that you would qualify for up to a 45% grant, remember the discussions before, is their application process is in December, okay? So you would apply in December. You have to have a positive bond vote before they can give you a formal funding offer. So you get into the bond vote with some estimations and all that. So I have never, and I would never in all my years, stand up and say you're gonna get a 45% grant, because it's probably not likely. Realistically, you're gonna be in the range of 25%. So that's about 1.1 million, and the rest of that's loans, so that's gonna be about in the range of 3.2 million. Your loan with USDA is gonna be at 30 years. I wouldn't recommend going more than 30 years because of the useful life of some of the stuff out there. So you would be looking at, you know, roughly $50, $52 per quarter increase, you know, with that size project versus the other one. So that's just give you, you know, another set of numbers to.
$12
That- I don't want you to think that I disagree with you as far as the entire town having to pay for this. I don't disagree with that. I just don't, we're in a time frame situation. We essentially got to vote on this tonight, right, to get this on a November ballot?
Well,
Tonight or in the next couple of days.
Yeah, so basically the flexibility you have, which is a little bit different in March with town meeting, is you usually need to do all that, you know, about the third week in January with a town report. You just need to have all the bond documents done at least 30 days prior to the date of the vote. So you do have a little flexibility beyond tonight, so I don't know.
It's not a lot, no.
Not a lot.
No, we talked to bond council.
You would have to do a special meeting.
Yeah, we're coming up.
And you would have to do that, so, but.
It's a couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to start by saying, I have my own septic system and I have my own well, so this doesn't affect me. I have no problem with getting this or any part of this and paying for at least part of it, as Wayne discussed. My question is, setting all the money issues aside, what happens if that plant just fails? Tomorrow morning, it ain't working no more.
Get out your checkbook.
We have to do that
Now what
project.
happens? What happens to the stuff that's flowing in there now?
It-
Is it going down in the field or what?
Going in the
Goes in
river.
the river
It
and
depends.
we start getting fined.
It depends what it is. Like,
But it's
Yep,
more likely a component fails and we work on fixing it.
yep. I mean, in some cases, it depends what it is. You know, if it's a clarifier, you still got one there, so you're okay. But the problem is, again, you know, if it's a drive, you know, that's something that's probably 3 months to get. It's not anything that, you know, you get off the shelf very quickly. So depends a little. If it's something in the ditch, that's a lot more serious, because now you're taking that completely out of service. You got to drain it down. Any type of concrete repairs need probably 28 to 30 days to set up, cure, and you have no biological treatment, so that's much more serious. You're probably in violation right from day one for quite an extended period of time, so.
I'm talking about what happens to the sewage.
But
Is it going to overflow the meadow down there?
No,
What?
it's gonna go to the whole,
Even if
gonna go to
we-
the Castle River.
Continues to run.
Castle River.
Right, and no different than when it rains up in Burlington and the raw sewage runs, and everything runs right into Lake Champlain. But it's, even if we voted everything through tonight, it'd probably be 3 years, and the same thing of next month, everything breaks down. It can all, even if we do everything right, it can go. So again, when I'm coming back looking at this and going, okay,
State
does
looks,
it really need, I never doubted for a second, do we really need $6.5 million of work? Absolutely.
Yes.
But there's no question, you don't get an argument from me. The only question that I have is, and I'm pretty sure you answered it very well for me, is saying, okay, if I didn't have $6.5 million, I'm not saying not do the project,
asking questions.
and it sounded like the Headworks one, only because I'm only picking on it because I can quantify $1.5 million and say, okay. When I went down there and looked at it, and I said, okay, it looks like it's still, understand, it needs work. and the toys that come in and everything else that, and the makeshift grate system that we have, and there's some pretty good chunks that come rolling out in through there. And I'm not saying it doesn't need to be done, it does. But I'm still coming back saying, at the end of the day, yes, it needs to be done. I think we, as a board, need to figure out how we're gonna pay for it. Where my comfort level is I don't think we're anywhere near a decision on how you're gonna pay for it. And when we say we're gonna have a bond vote in November, and someone comes up to me and says, so Glenn, what does that have, how are you paying for that, and how will it affect my taxes? I don't think the answer of I don't know is a good answer.
It's not I don't know, it's that.
We'll figure it out?
No,
It's
at
$60.
this point, we're doing a traditional bond issue with
$60 a quarter.
$6.5 million to the water and sewer customers that everybody gets to vote on.
Everyone gets to vote on.
And the sewer customers
And,
get to
and
pay
we,
for it.
and we are looking, but I'm just saying, you can say that as long as you follow it up with, and we are looking at everybody paying at the same time here, because if you're not looking at that, you owe it to them to tell them you're not looking at that, and it's just the sewer customers. That way the other sewer customers can all go and say, wait a minute, and vote accordingly.
My approach to that would be that we're doing a traditional bond issue, but between November and March meeting, we are gonna have a proposal on the ballot for March meeting.
Which the voters can vote.
Which voters can vote on. I'm not trying to sneak anything by anybody. I'm not trying to do any of that. I'm just looking at the waste of time it would be not to do it all.
I'm all for going out of here recommending that we go for a bond vote in November. Don't get me wrong on that. What I'm less sure of is whether we should be asking for 5 million or 6.5 million, quite frankly. That's what I'm less sure.
But my point being there, the difference, is that difference will grow by the time we have to do that part of the project. It won't be $1.5 million, it'll be $2.5 million or $3 million. So at today's dollars, it makes sense to do it all now. Then,
Quick question. One of the main thing we gotta do right now is because of the possibility of grant money and funding from the state, you know, that's why right now we have to do something now. Correct?
It's all reality, make the 6.5, more like 5.
Yeah. But I'm saying
Possibly,
is, we gotta get
After we
this
get
paperwork
grants.
filed.
More like, I didn't say 5.
We have to get this paperwork filed now in order to be, so have this stuff available to us, correct?
Yeah, we're gonna, so if the board votes today or in the very near future, either tomorrow or the next day, whenever we schedule, Suzanne will have to post her notice for the election. There'll have to be an informational meeting, which could be at a select board meeting, I think 10 days before.
It's gotta be within 10 days.
Within 10 days of the vote, and then we're ready to go forward. So yeah, there is a timeline we need to stick with.
Could I make a suggestion on an informational meeting?
Sure.
Have it a month ahead, because you're gonna get a lot of.
You may need a second.
Yeah, and it'd be nice
You
if
can do 2, so you need to do at least one within 10 days, Jay.
prior.
Yeah, and then the other one you can do whenever you want.
I just think, because we're gonna get a lot of questions. We're gonna get a lot of people in here. We're gonna have people that think, well, yeah, everybody should do it. We're gonna have people in here that should feel it. Just certain people, just let them know what's going on. And if Wayne could be here, for one of them, to explain why all this stuff has to be done.
Yeah, we gotta blame it on somebody.
No, I mean, that's why we have an engineer. I mean, he can explain to us a heck of a lot better than we can. And I just think we should have at least 2, because I think it's gonna be a lot of controversy.
Well, it definitely.
Probably, it's a lot of money.
We've got the PowerPoint presentation we did. for
That
you
would be
guys, and
excellent.
That is pretty.
We could just tweak that, you know, and that's probably what we kind of follow. And we also do a information flyer too, Jay, just like a 2-page kind of handout that you can, you know, do as a mailer, leave kicking around, so, you know, just. to
What
get
if
the
we
word out
got
to people.
that, something like that, well, it would just go to the water bills. But I would like to see everybody see it. That's what I want.
That would be a good point. I think
I mean, we
that
got
part
to
of
mail
it
this.
is,
I mean, we
if you-
mail out town reports. Why can't we mail out a flyer? Or why can't we mail out a mailer for everybody to get it, so they know what's going on before the information meeting.
We certainly can.
And that would bring more people into the information meeting.
Exactly.
Especially for the first one. And then we can have the second one, the 10 days before, prior to the, when we do what we have to do.
So,
The more they're educated, the better off we're gonna be.
One of
If you-
one of the challenges that, just to be mindful of having a vote in November this year, is getting a turnout, is getting people out to vote. It's
Right.
not as important
Well, I
what
got
it
it.
is, but how they vote, it's getting people out to vote, because there
I
isn't
think this
anything
will bring
else on the
people out.
ballot, there's no election or nothing else, so it's getting people out to vote is the important thing.
This will probably do
It'd be
it.
nice if it wasn't piggybacked on the schools.
Well, that's,
Yes.
yeah, but
Wait.
what I'm saying is that,
Or
I
it was
just
ahead of
feel we
schools.
should have, and like I said, maybe, once people could see what's really going on and how serious this could be, they would come back and look and try to help the town a little bit, say, okay, you know, we won't mind having a little something maybe extra in our tax bill. And I would just like to see it down a little bit, so the people here aren't paying that $66 basic rate every quarter. I mean,
I
it's
don't
just,
like it either, I think
you
we
know,
have-
that's the only thing I'm looking at. I just know what the people down here.
Think about doing an open house down there some Saturday too. You know, that's great, you know, just so people can see it, you know, something from 10 to 12.
Actually, that's not a bad idea, you do a Saturday and
Yeah.
just
Especially
walk
a dump
people, dump day.
Yep.
We've kind of beat this to
We
death.
We're looking for a motion
I am.
to,
would-
I, believe it or not, for all I put you all through, let me make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we send the $6.5 million bond vote, because I'm sitting back saying, I'm gonna get to my 5, I'm hoping I'm gonna get it, because we're getting, the timeliness of our grants is gonna get us back. I like Rod's comment there. But also I'll make a motion that we send the $6.5 million wastewater refurbishment, I think is, up for the
Upgrade,
bond vote.
upgrade.
Upgrade.
Is there a second?
For November.
Second.
November.
Second.
We did that.
I pointed to John.
Pointed in the general direction.
pointed, yeah.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
That was 9.
We're going.
Apparently quiet.
Just a couple things, so not a lot of time. The public education outreach is important, so give Joe, I'll be coordinating with Joe, you know, dates for the public meetings. If you want to do more than a second one, that's fine. If you want to do something similar to the treatment plan, you know, we'll get the PowerPoint presentation cleaned up. If anybody's got any comments on that, get the flyer going, so we've got all that kind of stuff ready to go here.
Yeah, if you could send us at least a draft of
Yeah,
a flyer,
absolutely. Yep.
and we can get that out, and just, because this is
The election is what?
November something, I don't
Well,
know.
there's no election this year in November.
No,
it's,
I mean, what would it be?
November 5th,
Yeah,
First week.
first Tuesday.
It's okay, so we gotta.
Doesn't necessarily have to be November 5th, does it?
Yeah.
November 5th, it's always.
It is.
Has to be the
It's always
first
first
Tuesday in
Tuesday.
First Tuesday in November.
Second Tuesday.
Okay, so.
Gives the farmers time to
Go
get
back
to the voting place.
Go back our 9 days and do an
Yeah, it's
information.
on your phone.
And then come back a couple weeks and put the first one in there.
And maybe a
If we can get this information mailed up to the people.
And yeah, and in between a Saturday at,
That down there. No.
You guys want me to mail them out?
well, let's,
You're gonna stick
yeah,
with-
let's.
I can stick with
Well,
maybe-
I think it's the only way you got time to do.
We do mass mail.
That's the only way you're gonna get it to everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
It will be,
And it's the taxpayers that you gotta talk, it's not somebody that's renting from somebody. You gotta have the person that's paying the taxes. And that's where it's gotta,
well,
that's where
the renters get to vote too.
Well, no, I understand that, but what I'm saying is the issue should be to go to the taxpayers.
Oh, they use the facility too.
Get through all the questions, I think, or, okay.
I think so.
Good.
I think we're good, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you, Wayne.
We'll probably have you back.
He knows the way down there.
Yeah, I
Stop by anytime.
do. I do.
Okay. Bobcat discussion, I think we're at. Unless anybody needs a break.
That later.
Okay, so the board wanted a little bit extra information from the last meeting.
Yep.
I did provide a side-by-side with the things I could confirm were similar, same category, but the differences. Some things, yeah, I'm not an equipment expert, but I managed to put a little bit of something together for you. Donnie and Sam are here to talk about the equipment.
It looks like this.
Yeah, it was just sitting on the table.
That's yours, yeah, that's fine. You got that there.
I can read off yours.
Just a question, when I saw there's a 5-year warranty and a 2-year warranty, are we talking, same thing, hydraulics and powertrain, I think, for both?
Everything?
I believe, and Tim can correct me, I haven't seen the CAT. I never saw what the sheet was that came in from CAT as far as, without numbers and stuff, we presented at night, I guess. The Kubota base warranty was 2 years, 2,000 hours, which is your components. I believe CAT, it either is, I'm not sure it's a base warranty, but they've made it up to 5 years with what's on their bid proposal, if I'm correct, Sam, right? Yep. What I did is, Joe contacted me and asked me for a supplemental for the other 3 years, which I gave him, depending on what you wanted for hours, you could do an additional 3 years with either a total of 2,000 hours or 2,500 hours to give you that 5 years. That way it's a little bit more apples and apples against the CAT, to be fair to everybody.
The additional warranty for the Kubota was 14 and change, almost $1,500.
So the additional warranty for the Kubota was $1,275 for 2,000 hours and it gives you a total of 5 years. And it was $1,350 for 2,500 hours. I would not personally expect them to probably run it over 300 hours a year, but I don't really know all the jobs. It's a little bit different than what you've had before. You've had wheel skid steers, you go on a track. Sam's probably got some ideas of what direction and maybe some other things they use it for more now, because let's be honest, your skid steers are kind of old. So maybe they weren't as utilized as much as maybe like this track machine would be used, I would guess, if I was gonna.
Let me ask you a question. A couple of people came up to me and said about the track vehicle in general, not to throw things back, that it's a lot less, you get a lot less use on the track vehicle. You're going to get 500 hours as opposed to 2,000 hours. Does that sound like a number?
Before you repair the track.
Before you're changing tracks. Yeah, on pavement, that was the concern.
You probably were wearing the tires anyway.
Well, we probably won't have any tires, you're just getting cut.
Flat.
I'm replacing tires every month. So, that's one reason I
do that.
the track machine is that we.
You can get those filled tires that are pretty foam filled.
Foam filled, you just run
The ones with the holes in them?
Yeah, the Michelin's probably the best one on the market right now, probably without knowing exact numbers. It's a normal set of tires would be, depending what you put on them, decent tires, 2 1/4 a piece plus your labor. If you did it with probably, I'll call them run flats, but the better ones that'll absorb, there's some that are solid you don't want, because then you're just wearing the bearings on the machine, on a track, or on a wheel machine. Without holding a gun to me, probably somewhere between 500 and $1,000 a tire.
Yeah.
But I guess the only concern I have with track machines, not knowing, is snow removal. Tracks don't like snow. Sometimes you have to put different track on it for snow use. I don't have a lot of experience with it. I called my Kubota rep because there is towns that are using them and doing okay. He says some will, like the tracks that's on our Kubota, and probably the CAT might be fine. Sometimes it's condition based on ice and stuff like that, because what a track does, it gives you a lower footprint. That's what take what everybody knows what a bulldozer is, the wider tracks, less compaction, you're getting less of a bite. Where a wheeled skid steer, you got 2 options. You can run the tires that are on it, which may, depending, what's worked or not, but there's also go back to the 80s, I'll use John's trucks, I remember he had a Chevy pickup truck, in the winter you put snow tires on it, they're a narrow tire. There is an option for that on wheeled machines that'll give you a better traction in the winter times. I just came into those from one of my guys, they do a lot of rental, they do that on their winter machines that they rent out to people to run, so. I mean, there's two sides, you know, I mean, there's lots of use both ways. You guys know what you're talking about, why you wanna go this route or what route you wanna go, so.
I can stud the tracks.
But then you can't do it, if you stud the tracks, and we're gonna be, all summer long, we're gonna be running,
Just going up, you get that.
you know, but we can put chains in tires too.
It's just usually not a recommended practice on skid steers. You can do it, and some towns do it. Town of Brandon runs skid steers.
I don't think there's enough room between the tire and the frame.
Spacer kit, if you need to. You just put the light ones on it. But generally, I think if I was gonna spend any money, it was me speccing something. If you went back to the wheeled one, I would definitely at least want a quote on those other tires I mentioned to you, the narrower ones, because it's like the old school. You went, let's say you had, I'll call them swapper tires, everybody had 31-inch tires during the summer, and they drove around. Winter came, they all put the little narrow pie ones on it, 16.5, to get you a bite, because narrower gives you a better bite. But, you know, you guys know what direction and what you want to do. I'm here to answer questions about my track machine. I'll gladly sell you a wheel machine. I mean, whatever you think is going to work best for you. Sam's the one running the department, he knows where he needs to use it, so we were trying to, you know,
Well,
be in there.
I just bring that up because it concerned me, the amount of hours, the difference in the amount of hours. And I just wondered what you thought.
I think that the track machine is gonna be better for us. I don't think that, we're not gonna be, and it all depends on how you turn the machine, how much you get a wear. If you just crank it, of course it's gonna wear, but if you take a longer swing, you're not gonna wear so much. So I don't,
Well, they mean.
and I know, I talked to Doug Woods about it too, and he said the same thing you did. He said he
I
was,
haven't seen him,
but
Aren't they talking more about the bearings and the undercarriage and that sort of stuff? It's not just the tracks, because the tracks are kind of like a set of those foam-filled tires.
right.
And you buy aftermarket set of tracks, probably, well, depending on how cheap you want to go, $3,000.
Yeah, so-
Plus or minus.
Roughly about that.
Yeah.
So I guess
Tractor.
it's whether, you know, the undercarriage bearings are gonna go and you're gonna have a lot of cost in that. I'm not sure that the.
The only question I have, are you moving it a lot from point A to point B, or are you trailering it from point A to
I'm
point B?
hoping
That's the only
they
question
trailer.
I have.
That was my next
And I don't know. He knows better, with, like, you know, you move your excavator on the track.
it's kind of an academic at this point. We've got the bids on it. I just wanted to know how uncomfortable that made everybody else, and if we go back to square one. But if not, we're back to deciding on two different track vehicles.
If the machine's gonna be taken from the garage down to the transfer station, it's probably your trailer down.
Yeah, we'll trailer it.
That's fine.
I'm not gonna run it around. I mean, the only time I'm gonna run it
Plowing
around is
snow.
when I do my sweeping. So,
And plow it.
Sidewalk.
the plowing.
Sidewalk, yeah. Okay. What's your pleasure, folks?
We're going to do this one-shot deal, right?
That's what I'm recommending. It's several $1,000s, anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000 to make a payment on this. And that's extra money that the board can use to buy other equipment or just save. So that's my recommendation, is to just buy it outright.
Your machine is an extra warranty to get it up to 5 years?
Yes.
Pay interest.
How much is
You're
it?
talking about this
price?
interest, one time.
I don't know what he gave you for that price,
That's
so.
total.
And if,
Total
I'll wait for Joe, just so everybody's on, make sure I'm not misquoting what he wrote you down. So if you did what we were
Oh,
before, we had, we were 54, 458, 36. I've given you $3,000 for your trade-in, which brought you to 51, 458, 36.
Yep.
If we took that base number and added, we'll just say, I would say the 2,000-hour warranty would be more than adequate, in my opinion, because I don't know what CAT's total hours are, but I would think that'd be pretty close to
They're 25.
25. So if we do 25 to be apples to apples, that'd be 1,350, so that brings you to 52, 808, 36. Does that make
You're at
sense?
54 and you're adding 13.
No.
No,
51, 450.
Oh, right,
Because of the trade, I think I allowed more for the
Yep.
trade than Cat did, but it kind of think, last thing, if I remember right, we were what, about $900 apart?
Total?
Yeah, before we
Somewhere
explained with
around.
warranty and stuff, because we were talking 7 years, but
A
that
little
was
more than
wrong.
1,000, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, somewhere in there. So I mean, it probably puts me, what, $200 or $300 more maybe?
300.
300.
And your interest rate was 6% and theirs was.
But you're not doing
There's no
interest,
rate.
you're paying
We're going
cash.
by
It's
law.
hard, it depends on how you do it, John, because in a lease, they don't technically show you the actual
I
rate.
prefer the,
I guess we're limited.
Cat may or may not, some companies
You
do,
prefer
some
cash?
don't, on a lease, on a purchase, they will.
I'm just worried about our reserve.
I know.
And the,
You got 36,000.
I don't, the cat came through with a backup
Okay.
camera, I don't know what that's
You
gonna
scared me
cost
there.
us. For yours, Donnie?
I figured if, to make a good concession, you know, I didn't know about the camera other than, you know, I went and saw Sam this morning, had any questions, Sam called me beginning last, was it this week, whatever it was. We got kind of busy and stuff, but, I didn't have the exact machine, I sold the machine that I'm quoting you. But I've set one up so he could look it over, touch and feel it, maybe get in it, you know, see what the difference is with the door and stuff. When we were talking this morning, he said there's a camera, if I can put an aftermarket camera in it, if that washes it, I told him I would do that. It's technically, I don't want to play any bid games, but, you know, if that was part of, supposed to be something, I think we can make that work. I can buy the camera, you'll work with me on me putting it in, which I'm qualified to do. You know, just may take me a day or two. It's not gonna be, you know, may take me a couple days to do it. We can figure it out, or Sam leave it out over a weekend or something, and I can put it in. So it's not, we've done it before.
Right now, we're down to these two, machines. You've had the cat down there trying it out, correct?
Yeah.
You said you'd bring one down so for them to try it out?
You
He
have
did.
one. It did not have the high capacity, high flow capacity, but unless you hitch an item up to it that needs a high flow, you wouldn't know that difference.
Mhm.
And it didn't have what they call the 14-pin adapter. The 14-pin adapter is what sends your power down to the implement to drive it, you know, to control what it does.
Right.
But as far as operation, running it around the same 2-speed, it would give you the same feel. So I don't know if they drove it around or not, but he was able to touch and feel it.
We did, Bud didn't like it. I mean, it's a foot shorter than the cat.
I think that'd be nice. Okay,
Smaller idle wheels, it's, and I don't know, the cat is all, there's no hoses on the outside of the rails to catch anything, it's all internal, it just, and the camera's in it, the backup camera's in it, nothing, everything's all set to go,
Is that the unit that they would be selling you?
yes.
Okay, that's why I didn't know, because you read it.
That one
says
right
that.
there is the one that, which
I did get a unit in, which I wasn't aware of, I told Sam this morning. I do have the unit, that would be the one that's in your spec. It just came in 2 days ago, so it wouldn't take long to get ours together if you decide to go that way.
What's your pleasure, folks?
I would just like to see both machines get the same treatment as far as everybody get to use them, to see what the, you know, I mean, we could, it's not like we have to do this tonight. I mean, if he can bring that machine up that's equivalent, or the one that's
here.
they would sell us, you know, and so then they can use it and whatever.
There's nothing, just in fairness, and I don't want to shoot myself in the foot, but I bring you the other machine,
it's the same.
it's nothing, because you can't hook up to your implements right
Okay.
now. Because you're actually gonna have adapter cables to run your older Bobcat 7-pin setup to use a base, I'll call it a computer, but it isn't. It's a very archaic old board. So when it's hitched to a Bobcat, their Bobcat can control, you know, like your turning of your snowblower, the flapper. So you have one flow into it, which
Does our
also
stuff do
drives
that?
it, but you need to divert some oil to do some other stuff.
stuff's that good?
There is
Yeah, that's
aftermarket wire harnesses. I guesstimate, I did a little work, and Joe asked me about it. You know, as far as locking in and hitching into anything, I think mine and the cat will hitch into your stuff, no problem. Powering it, whether it be mine or the cat, you're probably gonna be another couple $100 to buy this adapter to harness to go from 14 to 7. So basically you bypass that and you go direct plug in. There's plunger solenoids that divert the oil, so. But that's, I figured up to 2 1/4. So you have the blade, I don't know if they use the full functions of the blade, 'cause that was that new thing you bought last year, when Aaron, or a year before when Aaron was here. And the snowblower, but I don't know if you're really using the snowblower much, so. It's the same harness, but if you were gonna have it, you wanna be able to have it, hook it and go if you needed it, you know, so, whichever.
Does the cat have that?
Cat's all set up.
I guess I'll make a motion that we buy the cat for $52,500. I would really, making that motion, I would still like to try to do business with local people, but if we've got to buy aftermarket stuff to put on it, I'm kind of leery on it, but.
Is there a second?
Well, it's the same reason that Jay's talking about, you like to do business with local people, but in this case, this is ready to go, the cat is, so that would be my second.
Any other questions? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All those opposed? You want a separate motion on how to pay for it?
If you, Jenny would appreciate one. Yeah, if we could get a motion to take the $52,500 out of the Public Works Vehicle and Equipment Fund.
So move.
Second?
I'll second it.
Questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
And like I whispered to Jeff, there's $36,204 left in that account. So after the purchase.
We'll put a freeze on buying it.
Yeah. It's not at zero, but it's getting close. Public Works Vehicle.
I didn't want this business. Our Bobcat broke.
Yeah.
I'm just replacing.
I know.
All right. That's done. We did the.
Okay, we don't have
Are we
reserve
going
account to buy
back to the
anything
Benson
else
contract, or we're gonna wait till next meeting?
for a while.
No, I put it in, new business.
Oh, okay, down the bottom.
Number 6.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Did we do the delinquent tax? I got it checked out.
It's done, yep.
Okay. It's all running together. Okay, new business, closing Caernarvon for Halloween.
Yeah, so I was approached by the rec director, Miss Nicole, she's not in Eaton anymore.
We don't want you to.
Yeah, and Rice, thank you. And she asked again if the board would consider closing Caernarvon. I've also been approached by Sean Galvin, Constable Galvin, who also thinks it would be a good idea to close Caernarvon just for safety of the children.
Well, going back to why we didn't close it before, we've got 2, 3-year-old, 4-year-old kids that ride in cars, and their parents take them over ways and let them rock, and get back in and get warmed up and keep going. And they aren't going to be able to do that.
Let them on.
They won't.
How much candy do you need?
Okay, Paul, Bob, you know
There-
that.
At 2 years
I
old.
have a question.
Yes.
We're just closing Caernarvon, none of the other side streets.
So people can cross?
So people can drive down Second Street to Caernarvon, drop their kids off, they can walk down, they could go down to the next street and pick them up.
Yes.
First, Allen.
And they got.
All of the perpendicular streets
Just
would be closed.
Caernarvon is gonna be closed.
But can I cross it?
Yeah, if you want to.
No, you see what I
Yes,
mean?
yeah.
That parent can
No,
take.
no, I don't think.
Where are they
If it's
gonna,
closed,
where are they
it's
gonna
closed.
turn
You
around?
have to turn around the driveway.
That's gonna be a disaster,
It would be a disaster.
I
right?
don't know.
Well, that's what's gonna happen if we close Caernarvon, but
I'm just
I think
saying.
it's better.
I don't think it's a good idea, because of what he just said, people trying to turn around.
I don't know.
Chief, you have,
Just my experience, and I think Donnie and I together have done 20 of them now. I'm not saying a problem couldn't happen. We load up heavy, we walk, we patrol 3 miles an hour, street to street to street. And I don't know if it's a benefit to shut it off, unless you're gonna shut off everything and force everybody to walk. You might, because if that street's closed, you're just gonna drive around now and come back in again. So you're not really defeating anything. And the manpower to shut that whole area off, we get 400 or 500 people in there. I just don't think it's feasible to do it. I think in concept, it's a great idea to shut the whole center block off, because that's where we get the amount of people. But again, my experience, and I talked to Donnie earlier, we've been doing it a long time. Problems could happen. We haven't had any, knock on wood,
But again, we load up heavy that night, and we try to make a big, heavy presence, and it's 8 o'clock, trick or treat is done.
Do we have manpower enough to cover all those streets to shut them down like that?
Blockade them, and then, no, I mean, that's logistically, would be difficult.
At least,
But
right?
what about the people that live on those streets that
They come home
Don't have-
during that time.
Well, it's local traffic only,
get
right?
out during that time?
To eliminate all this problem, I'll make a motion that we don't block up.
I'll second it.
Any other questions?
No.
Everybody understand what we're voting on?
Yes, I do.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you
We're
guys.
leaving Caernarvon open.
Caernarvon's over.
Sorry, I think that was actually,
We talked about this
me that
last,
brought that up last year.
yeah, well, we talked about this last year, but we didn't give a lot of lead time for us to warn folks, so we wanted to have an honest discussion again.
There you go.
Joe, they talked about
We-
maybe buying some glow sticks for the kids to walk around with, or
That's the fire department.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
That would be really good.
Was it, the fire, no, it was, I'm sorry, it was the PTO last year bought a whole bunch of glow sticks and handed them out at the fire department so that way folks could, yeah, it was cool.
Great idea. Salt shed engineering bids.
We got one.
Yeah, we had a pre-bid meeting, we met 6 organizations down there, on site to give them, to answer questions and show them the site and give them a feel for what was going on. Only one company bid. And that was sitting in, on the desk in front of you.
And what I'm reading here, it looks like they're gonna do it in October. You give them the bid?
They'll start soon, yeah. Their time frame said
Their
October.
time frame seems,
So that's the one you got in the square box down here? Bottom,
Bottom.
$10,952.08.
Yes.
Okay.
Where's that money coming from?
This is grant funded.
Grant money? Yep. Just wanted to make sure.
On the
How
second,
much the matching grant on it?
Total match through, so they gave us 152,000 total matches.
No, I mean, what do we, for this 10,000, it's a grant now, how much comes out of our pocket for the 10,000, or is it all, it's all paid or
Well,
not?
that just, yeah, well, it just, yeah, something like that. It just rolls into the grant, so,
put 15 or 20% or something, right?
yeah, like 20%, so it was 20% of 10, 2,000.
So if they get this study done, can they start putting it up this year?
It's, oh no, they won't get it done this year. No, construction season's, we're almost done with construction. V-Trans, when I talked to V-Trans, they're expecting late next year.
yeah, they told us at least a year before.
On the second page of this is what it is, right? The Marble Valley?
Yes.
The second page is statement in bold in the third paragraph. We're sure we don't need any structural or?
That's all pre-engineered building.
No, it's, we're digging a hole and putting some tar in it and setting some blocks on it.
We're gonna put walls around it.
Well,
Right.
yeah, setting some blocks on it. Yeah, no, it's fine. And this is all, the bid that went out for this was written by the state, and they approved it all, so they're on top of it. It's not a study, Jay, it's engineering.
We're smart enough to build a shed. Oh, God.
It's a study,
So there's no foundation.
no, they're gonna dig a hole, make a flat pad and set blocks.
And then build on
Footing and then go from there, yeah.
Yeah, no, I could understand,
Put blocks as a.
I could understand your concern with that.
It's not gonna have stone in the bottom, so to take care of the water.
Yeah.
You need to do that anyway.
Well, so another question. Is this gonna be done so if they come through and grind the streets next year, we can dump right into this place and start building our base?
Into the hole?
Yeah.
I don't know, Jay. It depends on when construction begins. I honestly can't give you a solid
That's the part
answer.
that we're doing. We're gonna do it. The study is to go up to see if we can build it up there, correct?
That's part of it, yeah.
So.
The engineering, it's not just a study, it's the engineering of it.
Yes.
So that should be
Like how
done.
deep your pad
That
needs
should
to
be
be.
done by the time we have.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean.
Is that like Sam says,
Well,
they gotta put stone down in there with drainage pipe in it too.
Yeah, we got a backhoe, we can dig the foundation, we can dig whatever we have to do up there to save money.
Bulldozer in there, just things worse.
And, you know, strip the ground, I mean, we've got, that's what we,
I think even that skid
I mean,
steer
that's the
would
thing,
do a lot of
that
it.
if they give me a diagram of what they want done, I can do that on myself.
Get dug wood in there, the bull will be bigger than this.
we won't have to, just with the excavator, just pull the top out, they got it out.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
No, this isn't, shouldn't be, but it is.
No, it needs
Yeah,
to
the
be
question-
done, but I won't make the motion.
So, are you looking for a motion
Oh, yeah.
to accept I'll make a motion that we accept the one and only proposal to put our salt shed in. Do I need to give you the amount?
Not to exceed, yeah, that 10,000.
Not to exceed $10,952.08
In the company,
And the,
Marble Valley Engineering.
to Marble Valley Engineering.
Is there a second?
Must be just turning.
second.
Thank you. Hey, Dave.
Wow.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
No, you're not
The
opposed?
motion carries.
No, I am,
I got it.
Okay,
I just think,
did you vote no?
I voted no.
Jay doesn't like studies.
It's a cut and dry thing, I mean, that's the whole,
It's a pre-engineered building being engineered.
A second time.
EDC,
Okay.
EDC
We
appointment.
didn't go with the grant. We
Make a motion to appoint Cindy Pritchard to the
It's one.
Yeah,
EDC.
I was gonna ask that question. Go ahead.
Howard did.
I didn't hear you.
And the motion to appoint Cindy Pritchard to the EDC. Visit.
Is there a second?
Include the dates.
Huh?
Include the dates in the
September.
motion, please.
You don't look at me, look at Bonnie. She's the one yelling at you.
September.
Oh,
Don't look at me.
24th
Don't
already.
look at me.
I know.
What, how many years is this? for?
3-year term from
3 years.
October
Thank you.
1st, 2019 to September 30th, 2022.
Thank you. Is that a second?
That's a second.
With that
Cover
addition?
insurance.
Did you get that, Claire?
it was only like $700.
Just a minute.
That's a
It's
3-year
to appoint Cindy Pritchard to the
Reappoint.
EDC. Oh, reappoint.
I'm glad
Appoint
you came
Cindy
by.
Pritchard to the EDC. Now, I need to know what is the...
Economic
Economic
Development.
Development Committee.
Excuse me, I said economic.
It's the same.
Same
know.
thing. Same thing.
You say potato.
Is it committee or commission?
Committee.
Committee.
Okay. John made the motion, who seconded?
I second the motion.
Thank
You
you.
haven't done.
It's a 3-year appointment for starting,
9/30/19 to 9/30/22. I got that.
I was thinking we were gonna get out of here early.
2009
But that
to
was stupid.
September 30th, 2022.
2019.
2009?
19.
19.
19, yeah. October 1, 2019.
Oh, October
October 1.
Yeah,
It's October.
September 30th, 2022.
Got that, Cindy? Oh, she's not here.
She left.
Everybody understand what we're doing?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous. We're back to unanimous.
Thank you very much,
Don't
gentlemen.
forget, you skip number 6 at some point. Don't forget number 6. It's like- I was thinking we were gonna be early, but now I realize we're not.
Oh, no. Highway safety grant discussion, or you wanna do the,
Do them together.
we can do both. We can do
Are
that.
the other ones even here? Are you from Benson?
No.
No,
No, they're not here. So basically, they just called and said they wanted to talk to the board, so I told Joe. They knew it was on the agenda, so even though you didn't take any action on it tonight, they didn't come, so. I wouldn't waste a lot of time talking about it. They're
Since
not
it's
here.
on the agenda, I'll make a motion that we don't do a contract with Benson.
Is there a second?
For discussion purposes, yeah.
For discussion purposes.
Well, let's discuss, but let's not take a long time of discussion. What's everybody think?
I'm curious from the chief, is that a contract that is worth, in your opinion, worthwhile or not?
It's like I said, the last time that the board chose to do it, I don't really have a dog in the fight. We can do it if you guys authorize it, if not, we're good with that too.
My feeling is if we got this much manpower, that we can look another town to work, and it's time to lay somebody off. We've got too much manpower.
And then we had a situation,
I mean, our park isn't even protected. We had a tent stolen on your Friday night.
Well, that's unfair, and I talked to Joe, we don't take this as disrespectful. We are not a 24-hour police department, we do not know when it was stolen, and Sherry said it, she knew what color it was and was there when she went home. So after we're not here, I can't protect something not.
well, she went home rather late, around 2:30 probably.
Yes.
Let's
She
get
actually
back,
was over there for an accident from 1:30.
let's go, that's an example, I understand, but let's get back to the original discussion and.
I think we have a lot of things in this town that's gotta be taken care of. We don't need to be in other towns.
I concur.
So just to clarify, I don't care either way. I don't have a dog in the fight, so.
With the only other comment I'll make is that it looked like it was used as a revenue stream. The 7,000 was under revenue. I just looked at the dollars and cents. You're saying, okay.
You're not making money on it. I'm telling you.
Are we making, and that was gonna be my next
not
question,
making
are we losing money, making, and if we're not making money,
There is a little bit of money.
I think you're making some money.
Here's my thought about making money.
yeah,
If we have to support our police department by going out of town,
Then
we're doing something wrong here. And it may be time to think about the taxpayer and not have such a large department that we have to support by going out of town.
I don't think that we have to support it by going out of town. I think it's always been just a matter of you could buy down your budget.
right.
Was all.
Well, that's what the
Yeah, so-
sheriff's department's for.
Yeah, I think
If
so.
somebody wants
Absolutely.
protection, they should be hiring a sheriff's department. And I guess, I thought we made the point that this was a non-hiring department. It was for the town of Fairhaven. I thought that point was made. And I don't understand why you're coming here now if they were told in July that we weren't gonna do it.
So just to clarify, the contract expired. Nobody said we weren't gonna do it. Darrell Burlett called in August, and I said, we got other stuff going on. Darrell Burlett resigned from the board. I got an email from Sam, I think his last name was the moment, help me out.
Bartholomew.
And I said, I'll talk to Joe about putting on the agenda. So,
All right, well, let's-
again, I did not seek it out.
Don't,
They came to me.
okay.
Let's not,
They like,
No need, I got my questions in.
That's what
they
I
like the
said.
coverage, it helps them out,
yeah.
and they're flexible with what they need.
Then hire the Rutland Sheriff's Department.
And they like them better.
Well,
Just
then
saying what they tell
Yeah,
me.
That's the breaks of the game. We're not
That's
for
fine.
hire.
That's fine. Well.
I disagree, but that's
Right,
where I'm at.
No.
Right, I'm at, that it's, different discussion, well, it's gonna come into the next one as well, is we pay a lot of money for our police coverage. And at some point, you do have to look at revenue streams, for what you come in and what's paying it down. And we can say no to this, and I understand the reasons, I don't disagree with the reasons here, but at some point, we're not doing very
Then we're better
good.
off.
We're not doing very good. with
We're better
revenue
off to hire the sheriff's department then.
That might be too, but
So
I'm
that's
just
my
saying,
feeling.
I'm
If you're
just
gonna put
saying,
if you're gonna put your department out for hire, then let's just hire the sheriff's department and have it over with.
But you see, my feelings are that we're paying for our police department to cover our town, protect our town. That's number one.
Any other new discussion?
The only thing that, while we're on Benson, is the only thing that we haven't done up there, regardless of not having the contract, was just the 2 nights for the haunted hayride.
Mhm.
And that's basically the guy goes up, they pay us, this cruiser sits there. So that's the only thing, that we haven't even been asked yet, but I would rather they fall, because we've done it for the last 10 years, I think.
That's different than this, I think.
It is.
But, any other discussion? Understand the motion?
I do.
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
No.
No.
I'm getting 3-2.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we all knew where it was gonna go.
Well, we had the variable. Yep. Highway safety grant discussion.
So I asked for it to be on, the grant has not been issued yet. Fiscal year ends on the 30th. I wanted to just do a preemptive. So I don't have a grant for anybody to sign or even look at yet. I would assume it would be the same as last year's. I'm just trying to be ahead of the game. And so if we need, we've had multiple protracted conversations about it. I don't know if we need to even do that again. This one I do support because it's a supplemental to what we can do. It supplements our department instead of under Jason, it takes away from our job.
Supplements the people doing the work, that's
It's
the only
nothing
people
to
it
do-
supplements.
Again, this is nothing to do about money. I'm sorry that you feel that way, but it does supplement.
That's what it does, it supplements,
It does.
we're paying, they're getting paid time and a half money, plus they're taking vacation time, plus they're taking whatever. We don't get that kind of money back home.
It supplements what we can do for traffic patrols and what we can put an extra car out, which we can't normally do the way we're currently staffed. So again, it does add additional manpower. It does, we can apply them if there's a problem street or problem road, we can get them out there to address that, which normally patrol might not be able to take care of on their normal day-to-day operations. So again, it's designed as supplemental. The reason why it's overtime is because it has to be over and above your normal 40 hours if it's a full-timer, and then the part-timers get a normal rate. They don't make an overtime rate to bring them in. So we've had the grant since 2006. Again, to me, it's been a benefit to be able to supplement what you can do and basically, you can't be everywhere at once in this house. That night I did not have the extra car on when the tent got stolen. Again, I'm not positive what time it got stolen, but Sherry was tied up on an accident here. That second car would have still been out. Being highly visible. And that's what they are. They're dedicated to be highly visible deterrent patrols.
What's your pleasure, folks?
Is your question, and I'm trying to understand, it's on the agenda so that we can state whether we support the highway applying for the highway safety, because I support it.
In the future.
Well, we
In the
don't
future?
apply for it. The sheriffs,
Or they-
the sheriffs apply for it countywide and then they distribute it. It used to be each department had to apply for their own, and now it's the sheriff controls the money. It's distributed evenly between all the departments in the county that are participating in it.
I say wait until the contract comes.
Well, it expires on the 30th. So what happened last time was we got the grant, but we didn't get the actual contract for, it was a month later. So again, we won't start working until we get the grant, but I didn't want to have to come back in 3 weeks. So again, it would just be when it comes, if you guys are interested, either Bob or whoever you, Joe or whoever's authorized to sign that grant would be able to do that. And I'm doing scheduling for next month too, so I was trying to figure out what I had for next month for scheduling the holiday coming.
What's your pleasure?
Do we know if there's changes in the program?
It should be the same. It hasn't really changed in years.
My answer's still no.
I support, and my answer would be yes.
Yes.
John? I'd rather wait and see what it is. I got an idea things are gonna change.
Well, you'll have a chance to see it at that point. I wouldn't, again, I don't have any
changes.
problem. Whatever you want to do, sign it later.
Sounds like bringing it back.
We're not gonna start working until you look at the grant. So if you guys look at the grant, something changed, you could back out at that point.
We can table it until then.
I think
Sounds
it
like you're
does-
coming back.
Sounds like a good idea.
Sounds good to me.
What, when do you expect to see that?
Well, the end of the fiscal year is next week, so anytime Kevin will send out notice that the funding's been approved.
Get us something in our, so we can look at it.
Okay.
All right? Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Anything else for Bill? We got it? Or did the department head anything?
No.
Okay. Thanks. Anything, parking lot jumping out at anybody?
I'd like to see some action on a smoking ordinance. Well, we can talk about that while Bill's here.
John,
That's it's not good.
That's finished.
That's not smoking, it's
The
vaping.
vaping is finished, we
Vaping,
just
right.
haven't had time to put it on the agenda. Our agendas have been pretty packed lately. Bonnie actually fixed that up for us.
Okay.
So we're just waiting for an opportunity.
Have you run that through legal?
State the vapor anyway.
I have,
You might do that, just head off any questions. VLCT legal, maybe, I don't know. Cause that'll be the next thing we ask you,
yeah.
What's that?
to run the,
Did you run it past
did
legal?
you run it through legal, the vaping?
No.
Yeah.
So you might as well do it first.
So we're working on that. I haven't had any movement on the capital reserve fund. Capital budget is created, I'll hand that out soon. Abuse policy is finished, I'll hand that out soon. Oil tank, I'm still waiting for, I had 2 guys come out and look at it, neither one of them have given me numbers yet.
Who have you contacted about the oil tank?
Fabians
Yeah.
and I want to call him
Star.
Ross, Cliff Harper Environmental.
Wonder if Ryan Starr still doing
I don't know if he still does it or not, but I think.
I can't get a hold of Star, I called and left a
I
message
think-
too, and they
I
just,
think he stopped doing it. I
Just
think-
working last summer.
Yeah, I think he's, the last one he done, I heard it was gonna be this. But I mean, I'd call, did you call Doug? Or did he wanna do it?
Doug, I had to go through the approved state list, and Dougie was not on there.
Really? How about
Yeah.
Davenport and Pulteney? Is he on there, Chestnut?
Chestnut must be.
I don't know if I saw them on there.
Look over again and
because
see
I'll look and
if
see.
Chestnut is on it. If them guys, one of the guys from Pulteney, I mean, again, let's try to get somebody locally here.
They're good and they're
Yeah.
fast and all those guys.
Chestnut does a good job.
Any of them.
Well, all I need is numbers at this point, and I had 2 guys look, but they've just not given me, I've pinged them a couple times. People are busy right now, though, it's the end of the season, and
So we gotta have something for.
Call
certain
call
order.
Chestnut.
And that's a project that's gotta be done next year, right?
Yep.
yes. Salt shed we talked about, and the paving schedule, I got some numbers. I'm gonna create a spreadsheet, and we'll see what those look like to get some, see what it looks like to do roads in Fairhaven next year.
I'd like to see some of the shorter ones done.
That's what Sam and I were talking about,
How many-
working in
how
the
many
village.
times
Putting
has
it
Front
in-
Street
Here, you know.
Can you divide into what we did on West
We
Street?
got complaints.
Well, I mean, they haven't been touched.
That's,
I mean,
I got some numbers.
I know you.
we've gotta do something. Every time we've done a project, the road ends up a mess. It's,
West Street turned out good. I'm still.
West Street's fine.
Yeah.
The drive's good too.
So do we need to,
About
so shouldn't we talk about that?
no milling, just.
Oh, we got a mill. We got a mill, Second Street especially.
You got enough material on it?
Don't we
Yeah,
need
but
to
it's
do
gotta
that
be
today
milled
or
because it's too
tonight?
high. We pave
Oh,
it.
okay.
that's,
Go up
that's
the drainage.
another discussion, but I'm glad to see you're looking at the small streets.
Yeah.
Because that's what we've gotta, I feel that's what we gotta concentrate on this
We
coming
gotta
year.
get most of this end done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all I got. It occurs to me that in our discussion about the water, or the sewer plant, that there is actually there is a resolution that we have to pass to create the bond issue.
Okay.
So we have to do that motion over again
Can we just add
to
this?
accept this bond, this resolution.
Is it authorized you to sign it or everybody?
It has a select board.
I'll make a motion that we sign the resolution for the bond.
Second.
Okay, and we'll trust Joe to fill in the proper numbers.
Yes.
Thank you. There's 2 spots for numbers.
Yep.
And it'll be warned, November 5th is the date.
Yep.
Okay. And it's the 24th
Do you have to do
today,
this?
so we all have to sign it. Do you have a hard copy of that, or?
Let's use that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't scribbled on it, believe it or not.
No, well, I mean, I have a clean copy if you did,
Right,
but.
we have a motion and a second. We need
Yeah,
to-
yeah. I just wanted to see if all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. We are back to being official.
What's this one? Town clerk does this part.
That's the front page of it. No, that's different.
It's separate. But we don't sign it, it's.
Right, sure.
She must do it. Okay.
All right, round table, unless there's anything else in the back.
Just two items. I had one person come to me who lives on Furnace Street complaining about the poor water drainage and what's being done, and says it's been an ongoing problem, that water runs towards their houses and their cellars, and it looked like the road is higher than the houses and kind of crowned even on Furnace Street.
Probably is.
And got one on that same line, it goes in the same line of the paving schedule in the short streets that we talked about before. Got complaints from people on Pine Street that the potholes are opening up again. We have so much going on with sporting events and everything else, and this was a complaint from the president of the Booster Club saying they were getting complaints that potholes opening up, and you might maybe patch a few of those holes would be good.
That's what happens when we go to football games. Bill's got some.
In the Furnace Street, just, I know who you're talking about. And I asked him what kind of cellar hole he has. And he has a slate cellar hole. So we can do all the work we can do there, and water's still gonna go in the basement.
But there is a cure, it's called spray foam.
That's not it.
Well,
But in fairness,
We can
in
do-
fairness, the individual too, though, is saying that he's not the only one. He says he's talked to multiple property owners on Furnace Street, and they all have the same problem, and not to be surprised if one of our select board meetings, we have half of them on Furnace Street sitting in here
but I think,
wondering when we're gonna do something.
I think Jay had a good point last meeting where he said if we grind that road down a little, we might help some of that problem.
He's right on the money.
But it might not. It might end up with just water in the road like that sidewalk,
Again,
so I don't
Go
know.
back to what Sam said, we don't know if there's not a lot of mix there.
Right? You can't
You
mill 2
can't,
inches if
you
got
can't
an
bowl
inch
main
and a half.
gravel, you can't take down gravel unless you can,
Take it out with a,
yeah, the only thing you can do is you gotta go grind the whole thing and take it away.
right.
And that's
Then
all,
maybe you have to
that's all of our money gone.
Then
I'm
maybe
just-
maybe you gotta lower down
I'm
the
just
sand
saying,
and put something
Because
back too.
you'd have to go bowl mag the whole road,
Yep.
not just plane it, you'd have to bowl mag it right
Yeah.
on the dirt.
Right.
Like they did Second Street, and
Yep.
screwed it up, and, but that's beside the point. That was years ago. Anyways,
That
yeah,
shouldn't exist here.
That's all.
I mean, my plan is to do some test pits there, because I want to put just some dry wells in. Hoping that will catch everything, and, because it's all sand,
yeah.
so,
Would
like I
help.
was talking to Joe, if I dig some test pits and
Fill them with snow.
dump 500 gallons in there and it goes out in 15 minutes, I won't have a problem, you know?
Save your money, you may be doing it on Mechanic Street.
But, I mean, if it's, that guy, you guys, I'll take pictures of that, and I'll show you. That's-
We're not done with
I got the picture already, sir.
That's my complaint, is the sidewalk. That sidewalk is ridiculous. It's close to the road, it's been up since the
that.
Yes,
last,
some of that
You
part.
need to watch the TV.
Why is that?
That'll cheer you up.
If you missed it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bill.
but anyways, have you seen the fiasco on the corner up there now? Take a walk up tomorrow.
Was it Fourth and,
Right on the end of Mechanic Street and 4th Street. I
What's
guess
the
they're gonna
problem
put a
there?
curb around the corner, which is fine. But
Is it gonna
they,
be-
and then I don't understand where they feel they've created more of a safety thing. You go to the other end of the sidewalk, and they dump all the kids where the buses are parked. There's no sidewalk, they dump them right in front of where the buses are.
I forgot that, so I thought there was.
And, you know, and then you go down through, and it's close to the road, it's low. The water's going to lay on top of the sidewalk, because it's lower than the ground. There's that one spot in the school, it just drops right down.
And trust me, you're not gonna be happy with the answer.
Oh, I can imagine, geographical, they had to go with that, right?
Well,
I don't know.
I thought that's why we hired him.
Exactly.
Overlook everything.
That's what I was getting at with the question about who
Because
covers.
he should have called the engineer up and said, look, this doesn't look right to me, could you come out here and look at this? Maybe the engineer would have said, make it level.
I thought we,
Bring in some
I thought we
topsoil,
hired
make
an
up the
engineer to
difference.
be on the job, so.
That's who was here, but he pretty much said there was nothing we could do.
Well, then we ought to do what the other towns have done. Go after the engineer. It's his mistake.
Well,
That's all I got.
look at the television.
Which one?
PEGTV.
That one, when
Oh, he
it
was here
comes
earlier?
out, yeah, he was here earlier.
Yeah,
I held off as long as I could, I
Right,
promise.
yeah, you did.
We danced around it. You just missed him. Actually, you probably walked out when you were coming in.
Did he want to have a look in the earth?
That's all I got against you.
I don't have anything.
No, thank.
One question. There is one of the trees in the memorial trees in downtown that was taken out, died or whatever. Somebody wanted to know if they could replace that at their own expense and what would the, what would the tree be and what they had to do to go through.
Listen, we'll take the one out in front of our building and give it to me.
I don't know if that'll work, but.
What tree, what is it, a shrub like one of the monuments?
No.
The trees they plant on Main
The
Street.
trees on Main Street, they have some of the memorial slates around it. And that tree, wherever it is, I'm not even sure which one it is, died and they want to replace the tree.
Yeah.
Maybe a little research was a more logical
With a
tree.
dwarf type tree.
Dwarf type tree.
If the board's not against, because I know there was discussion about removing them all, if the board's not against it, I can find something. I could reach out and let them know, whoever, I don't know who that person is. but-
I would rather see, if they're gonna replace any of them, I'd rather see them put like a flowering crab in and keep it trimmed, so it looks good, you know?
Yeah, something like that. But anyways, if
So-
have her get hold of you and.
Junior Plano got the
Yeah,
original
that would
tree.
be
Anything.
Joe.
I love
Something
lilacs.
that doesn't,
Junior Plano got the original.
they gotta
He would
keep them
know.
down. They're supposed to be trimmed down when you put them
They
in
were
original.
supposed to keep those trimmed down and that didn't happen.
I mean, we're up
Nobody
to
got
the
here.
second story in our.
Better be looking for a bucket.
Bucket truck.
Your new
No, okay.
Your new
I'll put that.
capital.
Yeah, Bill's right.
I'm sorry,
That's
Bill, I
fine.
keep forgetting. I'm
It's not
sorry.
that big a deal. So, I've been pondering, Glenn approached me one night when you guys were here for a meeting, and he came up with an idea, so it's not my idea, it was his, but I've actually been doing it during patrol, was to put four-ways intersections at Caernarvon and Apple Tree and Mechanic and Fort. Now, I've been doing it on purpose if traffic is light, stopping at the intersection. Why I put it on there is I want you guys to just ponder it. Because I pondered it and twofold was, you're gonna slow down the speed, and it might discourage the trucks from going that way. If they gotta go stop and go, they might go around the way they're supposed to.
But if we just enforce the signs we've got there, no trucks.
Yeah, and that's-
Okay, it's
Well,
just a. it's a
traffic
twofold.
calming is all the rage, I'll
And
give you
it's a
that.
residential area, so I just wanted to plant the seed, that maybe if you're out driving around, just try it and see what you think. And it probably won't be popular, but I thought about going up and down 4th Street and talking to some of the residents.
4th Street and
Well,
Mechanic.
come off Caernarvon, it's awful. When you try to
Yeah,
go across
oh yeah, it
the
is.
city.
It is,
And then not Pine Street, just the two four-ways, because
yeah.
when you come off on, and you actually have to
Even
stop.
just Caernarvon.
And then you stop again, so it would stop that constant acceleration up to, you know, they run 38, 40, and then we're back down. You're gonna slow that down, and then the trucks, I don't drive trucks, but the large trucks may discourage them of going that way through a residential neighborhood.
No, you're not supposed to, Bill. That's what the sign is.
I understand that, but again, I can't be everywhere at once, and if we take highway safety from
What
it's
did
gonna
you,
even limit me
what
even
did you
more.
tell me when I told you about the troopers, our police officer sitting right in the corner in a 44-foot trailer come by and he didn't do anything about it? And you said he was tired, or he might not have seen
I didn't say he was
it.
tired.
You
I
said
said
he
he may
didn't
not
work,
have seen
you,
it.
a 44-foot trailer, you
I
don't
don't,
see
I
it.
can't speak for him, Jay, I'm not here to argue with you.
I'm
I
not
just want
either, but you know,
ponder that
you wanna
idea.
keep going out to work someplace and we got so many things going on
What are
here.
you talking about? I don't want to go to Benson and work, I can make that very clear. And again, we're not talking about that, we're talking about a concept that Glenn came up with that I want you to think about.
I don't think it's a bad idea. I really don't.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Not being argumentative, I'm just planting a seed, because if it doesn't come from me, or doesn't come from him, it comes from a group that thinks about it, thinks it might be
I don't have a
beneficial
problem.
for the town.
And I understand it may take a little while for people, there's the growing pains, like
Wow.
the chief was telling me, that are so used to the old way that once you put a four-way stop, you might have a little growing pain.
Well, I'd want some kind of light.
But we have to do the ordinance.
Oh, yeah, there'd be
Yeah,
time.
with-
I'm not saying do it now, I just want you to
Well, you can
just.
do it.
I'm just saying, the first
try to
day
come
that
up
sign's
with
up, a
way
lot of
again,
people are gonna
because
run through it.
That
Oh,
stretch
I
of
think
street
it's gonna happen.
is really, really long, and it's very easy to get cranking on.
Yeah.
So just something to ponder, again, if you're out riding around, try it. And it hasn't really slowed my times down, going from point A to point B, you just stop, look both ways and go. I know Jim Oz was out there one day, he probably thought it was funny, he was down the middle of the road, but you just,
It's not a bad idea.
since Glenn mentioned it, I've been trying to practice it, just see if it would make a difference. I think it's worth exploring.
Nice to see an officer on West Street between 3 and 5 too once in a while.
AM. Just kidding.
All right. Anything else? We have financials?
Oh, yeah. Checkbook is $725,097. Motion to pay the payroll warrant, $31,071.96.
All those in favor?
Aye. Motion.
Opposed? Go ahead.
Motion to pay the general fund warrant, $199,381.46.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there something special in that one?
Don't have that.
There's a,
Quite a few things.
There was a ticket, but
It's probably in the box. That's all, as long as there's.
there was 35,000 for meters, the tractor, the audit, Stantec, what's that one?
that's our,
That was 12,000.
yeah, that's for our guys to
Tell us where
tell us if things are all over.
Insurance premium and a retirement premium,
There's
Beamers.
also one in there too for the medical part of it, right? Where we should add back to the,
Yep.
for the deductibles.
50, there's almost 60,000 between insurance and Beamers.
All right, that's all of them.
I
second.
You wanna-
Somebody second?
We already
You
did.
can get Jay to sign them anyway.
One other
Oh, you gotta
question.
sign it.
Yeah.
Sign up, we gotta
Is
sign
there,
up.
is there anybody feel like being with Glenn tomorrow at the union negotiations? Like I can't be there. I mean, Glenn is perfectly capable, believe me. And you know, maybe a report afterwards. We don't necessarily need to talk tonight because there's nothing. But
What time is it?
4 o'clock.
4 to 6.
Not tomorrow.
I'm sorry, but I promised to be someplace else. I'm gonna be there.
Any way you
I
can
know how
do
that
that,
is.
Jeff?
What?
Any way you can do it?
I can't do that one.
Can't do that one? What time is it?
Well, Joe's here.
I'd be shot and skinned.
I mean, I'm gonna, yeah, I mean.
You're here.
I think Joe's a logical one to go.
Okay.
You'll be okay.
We have the representative that
Yeah.
one of those in the Joe.
And I've got a pretty good idea of
Yeah.
where we can.
Worst case, just don't commit.
Gotta keep that, you know.
Worst case, just don't commit if you're uncomfortable.
This minor issue.
If you're uncomfortable, just don't commit.
Oh, no, I'm
No,
very
that's
comfortable with
There
it.
will be.
I got it.
We're still in the early stages.
Yeah, we're still in proposal stage.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye. Close
This
the
meeting is
motion.
adjourned.